Hey, what's up, bookworms? We are back with another Talk About Nothing. Tonight, guys, my guest, probably the best after show for Rings of Power and Wheel of Time you're going to find out there, obviously. This is Bookborn. How are you this evening?
Hi, thanks for the intro, Mike. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. People wanted me to have you on here so I could ask you when you're getting a Goodreads page.
Oh no. They'll be waiting until forever.
Yeah, Goodreads is one of those things. It's like I haven't found anything that's good enough to replace it to get rid of it. But I totally understand why you don't have one. That's kind of why I quit rating books for similar reasons. But
I
is
noticed
what it is.
that because I went on your Goodreads today to be like, oh, what's Mike rated recently? Like, let's see if there's anything I've read. And I'm like, he hasn't rated anything recently. It's all just read and no ratings.
It's because it was a while back, and this was you. I know you do a lot more Cosmere stuff than I do, so you're gonna Sandersonians, as I call them. They got real mad if I put a Brandon Sanderson book as a 3-star, which in my rating is a really good rating. But I put something else as a 4. Then it's like, oh, well, you think that book's better than Oathbringer? I mean, everything became, oh, you think that book's better than Oathbringer? So I just like forget it. That's what this all became about. So I just stopped. I stopped rating stuff like completely overall. Whereas I know you still rate stuff. I mean, I saw you went back and you re-rated last art, not it's not last argument Kings. Before they were hanged, you went back up to a 4 on that, huh?
Yeah, I did. I think I understand it more now. It's funny because I was actually watching some of your Abercrombie videos,
Mm,
and
those are old.
because you weren't so sure on Heroes at first, whereas like I was the opposite. Heroes is the book I read and was like, I get it all. I understand now everything Abercrombie's trying to do, and that was actually my favorite Abercrombie until Age of Madness.
See, so I think with the Heroes, I just went into it with the wrong expectations because I felt like Best of Cole was like an action movie, and then this just got really like down in the muck and stuff. And I don't know. It's some of those things I feel like if I revisited it now, especially after doing like the Red Rising sequels, I'd probably like it a lot more than I did that first time. And I've reread the first trilogy like 3 times. I should probably reread the middle books now and kind of see how I feel. So you're liking the sequel trilogy, huh?
Oh man, loving it.
Shovel Piece is
I've
great.
only read the first two. I haven't
Yeah,
read Wisdom yet, but I
Shovel
did give
Piece
the
is my
first two
favorite.
5 stars.
5 stars. Okay, well I don't know. For me, it's hard. You get into nostalgia, and I have such nostalgia for that first trilogy and those characters. It's hard for me to ever say. But I know that I seem to be like on an island with that. Just about like everyone I was talking about this on my Discord recently, and every one of them were saying they like the sequel trilogy better. I'm like, I don't know. There wasn't enough Galacta for me. I mean, I need more Galacta. That's what I was all about in that first trilogy. So
Yeah,
that's
I get
fun though.
interested because I've only read the first trilogy once, and it was really my first experience with Grimdark. And
Mm.
so I wonder if I went back and read it now and I understand more what Abercrombie's trying to do, I might feel like they were 5 stars as well. I don't know. But I think because I'm reading Age of Madness after the whole series, like I see the picture. So it
Mm.
feels like such a culmination of everything I've read previously.
Oh, here's a shock. The most recent thing Philip read is the best thing that he's read. That's what I love about Philip. Everything that he read last is the best ever. I love him for that. And I hope he doesn't mean that I think I'm insulting him when I say that. I don't know. I don't know. I think he and I are both reading this right now, and I don't think that's you're gonna test that theory, Philip, because I don't know if you're having as rough a time with that as I am. So we'll see. We'll find out.
Yeah, Philip, you got to rate that 5 stars too. That's what
Now,
Mike's saying.
are you are you are you a Hobb fan at all?
I am. I've only read the first trilogy though.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like I'm behind on the Hobbit. I read that a long time ago. I really liked it. It was just like a little sad for me. I was like it was a little sad and I'm going to read I have the first Ship of Madness and I know I'm going to like it, but I just have to be in the right mindset to like read a Hobb, you know? I have to be willing to be like emotionally devastated. So
Mm.
I'm not feeling it right now.
Yeah, no, I mean that was the thing is everyone told me when I first started reading Hobb, oh, it's so sad, it's gonna make you cry. I'm like, you guys aren't really doing a very good sales pitch for me here. I don't want to read anything that's gonna make me super sad. And then I was like, ah, you guys need to just like man up a little bit. God, all you guys talk about. And then I read Fool's Errand, I was like, oh, okay, I see. So yeah, it got me too. So yeah, keep going. Are
It
you
wasn't
gonna
like
read the
even
just the pitch books, or are you gonna read the whole thing?
I probably eventually will read the whole thing. I feel like Hobb is just such a mainstay in fantasy. I like to be well read. But the Farseer, it was like not even that it made me cry or anything because it didn't. It was just depressing,
Hmm.
just overall just a downer. I mean, I still say that is probably one of the best second books I've ever read in a trilogy. I think it was excellent. Doesn't mean it's easy to read though.
Yeah, I think you'll get a lot of that over the course of that series. It's like how I feel like with Lonesome Dove, people are like, "You're talking about Lonesome Dove," and like all you talk about is like how sad and depressing and how much it like tore you up. But it's amazing. I'm like, sometimes an author's just that good. You like it when they hurt you. I guess I don't know.
That's like the classic book reader thing, right? We're always like, "Oh, read this book. It's going to emotionally destroy you."
Well, I like that better than the wheelies who like when I first started, because when I first started my channel, I was doing Wheel of Time. And everyone's like, "Oh, Wheel of Time is my favorite series ever. Book 7 through 10 suck though." And I'm like, that's not a very good sales pitch. That's really not a way to get me to keep going. So I think when you hit every new reader with, "Oh yeah, these 4 books right in the middle that are this thick each, they aren't good," that's really not convincing anyone. Hey, I want to commit to this 14-book series. I wish they would sell them on something else, I guess, I think is what I would say.
That's just the charm of us Wheel of Time fans though, because that is me as a Wheel of Time fan. I am like a huge Wheel of Time fan, but I'm like, yeah. It's like you're gonna hate your life for 3 books, but no, it's fine. And like that's just the charm. That's the charm of Wheel of Time fans. We love and we diss on our favorite constantly.
Okay, well, hey, I've got to talk about Wheel of Time because I think that your videos after each episode of Amazon's Wheel of Time, not Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, but Amazon's Wheel of Time. I have this thing where I try to find the positives in anything. And me and my co-host, Madison, when we were talking about the Wheel of Time after each episode, we try to stay positive. And I feel like the first 4 episodes, we did that. We're like, it's different, but we're finding enough things that we like. And it got worse and worse. And I think by episode 6, we're like, I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. Whereas you came off right out of the gate like, this is shit. And I admire that. I admire that you were able to do that.
I didn't though. I think I actually gave it to episode 4 because people were saying I was too positive. I came out of the gate explaining the differences, but I think people misunderstood that. It wasn't me trying to hate on the show. It was really supposed to be a tool for people who were curious about the books, but we're never going to read them, because that's the kind of person I am. Like sometimes I'll watch a show and I'm like, I'm never going to read this book, but I'm sort of curious. Like, what are the differences? Sure. And so I feel like I gave it a fair shake, but it was around episode 4 that I was like, And then by episode 8, I really did just like give up completely. But I tried.
Oh my God. I mean, because like my wife hasn't read it, so I was trying to let her enjoy it, because she was, for the most part, she was like, it looks kind of CW. It doesn't look like a $100 million show, but she's like, which we'll get into when we talk about Rings of Power inevitably. But she was like, but I mean, it's fine. She's like, I'm kind of into the story. She liked the idea they made the dragon a mystery. She liked that and stuff because she didn't have any idea. But by episode 8, I couldn't even keep quiet anymore. This is just so bad. Balsamon shows up wearing like a tablecloth and shit.
Did she honestly finish the season and feel like it was a good TV show though?
Up until about like 6, she was fine. She was asking questions. She was having theories and stuff. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm just going to let her enjoy it. I'm not going to try to take this away from her. And then by like 7, 8, she's like, as a show, it's breaking its own rules. I was like, thank you. Yes, it is. So yeah, by the end there, she was just like, okay, so now this one girl gives out magic hugs and stuff. She's like, I don't even understand what's going on. I was like, yeah, me neither. And I read it. So
yeah, that was actually one of the biggest complaints I had about episode 8. As I said, like, even if I remove myself from the book, it's bad TV writing. It's bad writing. It's bad writing to have anyone come back from the dead. You shouldn't have killed her and then brought her back, because like that is the #1 rule in fantasy. You don't bring people back from the bed without cost. Yeah, Philip, I think like that's a lot of people said that. Like episode 8 was not only bad in book terms, it was bad, period, from every angle, pretty much.
That was the first one where like the whole episode, I was like, I'm not finding anything redeeming about this, like at all. Nothing about it. So yeah. So, but hey, I'm glad that you are. Are you going to shoulder the burden and watch season 2 and continue to make those videos? I mean, it's good content for you. So, I mean, are you going to keep doing it?
Yes and no. I am going to attempt season 2 with the attitude that I can quit at any time I want. So if I watch episode 1 and I'm like, I hate this, then I'm going to make my episode 1 video and be like, peace. Yeah. Bye. In fact, there's actually the Wheel of Time fandom. It's either the Wheel of Time on Reddit or the subreddit White Cloaks. I don't remember which one. But they have made a prediction of when they think I will quit. like I stumbled upon this. They were like, Bookborn isn't going to make it past episode 4 of season 2. And they don't know I've read that because I never respond. Here's the thing. If you've written about me on Reddit, I've read it, but I don't comment on Reddit. So, and so I'm going to curious. I'm going to like, if they're right, I'm going to respond and be like, you're right. I didn't make it past episode 4. So we'll see. That's what they're giving it to me.
I treat Reddit like that dark area in The Lion King. Son, you must never go there. That's how I am with Reddit. So you're brave, but I don't. At least I hope not. I don't think I've got any threads about any of my opinions out there. I hope, but who knows?
Well, you get mentioned all the time in like favorite booktubers.
Well, that's nice. Wow. Okay.
So you
I didn't know that.
Good stuff. I mean, I haven't like looked you up, but your name is mentioned a lot for favorite
The
booktubers.
thing is with Reddit is my really only experience of Reddit was first everyone said that like Murderbot was amazing, and I read the first book and I was like, all right. And so basically anything that Reddit just like adores, usually I tend not to. And also that I got banned from the King Killer Chronicles.
So I have that. I want to ask you about that because I was watching that video and you're like, I'm banned. I'm like, what? How did you get banned?
All I said was like, I didn't. I mean, I thought I was constructive. I just said that I wasn't really crazy about the first book, but I said I'm willing to, if he gets a date for book. This was like 5 years ago. I'm like, if he gets a date for book 3, I'm willing to commit to rereading it and reading book 2. And they're like, well, why didn't you like it? I was like, I didn't really like both that much. Thought he was a little too Mary Sue-ish, and boom, gone. So I was like, okay, wow. All right. So, I mean, you have a video about Mary Sue's, and I see you've got both in the thumbnail. So would you agree?
I agree in book 2. I don't necessarily think he's a Mary Sue in book 1, only because in book 1, I did think it was tainted by Quoth telling the story. So I thought that was kind of maybe part of the point. But then when I read book 2, I was like, no, Rothfuss just kind of wrote him as like a stand-in. So I do think Quoth reads like a Mary Sue. I agree with that. And no one got angry at me for saying that in the video. So I guess the subreddit is harsher.
I guess you, well, I mean, it's also before I started a channel. Maybe I'd have a little bit more leeway now. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. Aldan says that he predicts you'll make it 5 minutes into episode 1.
Perfect. Thank you for your faith in me.
Look, The Great Hunt is my favorite Wheel of Time book. So I'm going to have zero patience with it. And think
The
it's
Great
like right
Hunt
now,
is such a good Wheel of Time book because I reread it recently just for the show because I didn't know how far the first season was going to go. And I was like, man, The Great Hunt is so good.
Yeah, Great Hunt's
Top
amazing.
bottom.
And I mean, I remember thinking that like the rumor for the longest time was they were going to do 2 books per season. And so I was like, oh, where could they end it? And I was like, oh, get to the flicker, get to the portal stones. It's gonna be awesome. It'd be a great place to end it. And then what at this point I'm like scared of them doing that scene because well, you know why.
They claimed that season 2 is going to be nothing like the book, so that in season 3 it can be close to the book.
That makes sense. That's a witch.
Sure.
That's some Witcher shit.
That gives you guys some confidence about season 2.
Well, I look forward
Mike,
to it.
You don't have to watch it. You can just watch my videos about it, and that will save you heartache. Because that's what I do sometimes about things I don't think I can handle. I just watch other people make content about it.
I also did just like a quick. I just said I wasn't gonna do every episode kind of thing, but I did the review for just like basically like what I liked and what I didn't like about the first 2 episodes of Rings of Power. And I thought it was pretty even. So stuff that I liked, the stuff that I didn't like, it was pretty even. And like everyone in the comments was either, how dare you say this isn't amazing, or how dare you say this isn't garbage? So there was no real middle ground, I think, with that show. And maybe that's one out of the gate you did not like from out of the gate, right?
I was okay with episodes 1 and 2. I didn't think they were perfect, probably what you thought, but I was like, oh, this show has promise. But I thought every episode after the first 2 was worse. I didn't like a single episode after. But what's interesting, what you just said, is that's what I experienced with both my Wheel of Time takedown and my Rings of Power takedown. Both. People were saying I was an Amazon shill because I dared say I liked a single thing about the show. And then other people said, you're a book reader, you would never be happy, on the same video. Like you just are never going to please people.
I think I said that, like, or somehow I'm an Amazon shill and an Amazon hater at the same time. And I'm like, I mean, ever since I did Kindle videos, people have assumed that I've been getting paid by Amazon. Like, I had to misbehave, guys, on Prime Day and pay for this because they wouldn't send me a demo copy. I'm not getting paid by Amazon. Trust me. They don't give a shit about
I'm
me.
like, if Amazon wants to pay me to take down their shows, please, who can I call? Please get me in touch.
I was like, hey, I will give them my mailing address. They can send me checks for anything. I'll do it. I mean, I'm not expensive here, but no, yeah, it's
my titles were The Wheel of Time was disappointing and The Ring of Powers was disappointing, and you think they're paying me to put out those videos? Like, please.
Yeah. Comment sections are fun. That's why I traditionally try to stay away from them. But hey, Rings of Power, such a missed opportunity because I think about like what could someone who I don't know likes the lore have done with that budget. It could have been really amazing. But I was like, my wife was saying that Wheel of Time didn't look like I think they said it was like an $85 million first season. She said it doesn't look, she said it looks like it could be on the CW. It doesn't look that expensive to me. Whereas Rings of Power, like, yeah, it looks better, but them like saying like, oh, it looks like motion picture quality. I was like, not any motion pictures I've been watching. I was like, it looks like 3D printer armor and rubber swords, and I don't know. Maybe I was just blinded by the lady who plays Galadriel. I don't know. No.
Morfydd Clark.
Is that her name?
Is she not for you, or is it the way that they wrote her character to
a little both? I think my wife made a point that she looks like a nervous rabbit. She said she's always like with her teeth, and I couldn't not unsee it after that. And so that but it's not like they've written it well. That show is boring.
I told my husband when we were watching it, as I said, what's interesting is oh gosh, why is her name totally escaping me? The original Galadriel in the Peter Jackson movies.
Kate Blanchett.
Why can't I think of her name? So Kate famous.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kate Blanchett. Kate Blanchett was the same age as Morfydd Clark when she played Galadriel. They were both 30 or like 31. And Kate Blanchett in that role has a very timeless quality that you would see in an elf. Like you don't really know what age she is. That's kind of how she looks. The problem with Morfydd Clark is she looks 30. So my problem is as I was watching Rings of Power, it looked like I was watching a 30-year-old Galadriel. But at this point, she's supposed to be like thousands of years old already. Mm. And I think that quality was overlooked. And it kind of ended up making the whole show not make a lot of sense because all I could think of is I'm watching a 30-year-old, which like, it just that's not going to fit the Lord of the Rings vibe where everyone's supposed to be like thousands of years old.
Mm. I mean, there's things I liked about it. I did like this person bring up Elrond and Durin, all that stuff. That was fun. Yeah, I enjoyed that stuff. There was stuff I liked about it. There really was. Even stuff that was, maybe not exactly like the lore. I'm fine with it. Look, I'm not married to the Silmarillion like I am to, the original trilogy or even the appendices.
But I mean, they didn't have the rights to the Silmarillion. So I knew it was never going to be the Silmarillion. You know what I mean?
Nitpick some stuff from the appendices, which is like, it's stuff there they could use, but I don't know. There was things I did like about it, but that's one that
I just always say I went into the Rings of Power actually not expecting any of it to be lore accurate. I didn't care, but I did want to be entertained. And I just really feel like it was one of the most boring shows. Like
it was so dull.
I forced myself to watch the last episodes. And I said, this literally feels like homework. And so I'm not even going to try season 2. Like, I'm not even like, I was so bored that I think
it was episode 5 where they like just the whole time it's like they're talking about leaving. It's like, it really just took an hour plus to just get on ships and leave. And I was like, this show's just boring, man. It's just, I mean, my wife fell asleep in probably 3 out of the 5 episodes. All reason really was we kept watching it was because my youngest, my oldest, he loves the original trilogy movies, and he even loves the Hobbit movies. So he was excited to watch it. He doesn't care. He's never going to read that. So he was all in. But even he was like, kind of like looking around, like, is this almost over and stuff like that? I was like, dude, I am not forcing you to watch this. You can leave anytime you want. We didn't even watch the last episode. I think it was that 5th episode like broke me. I kept watching when she made like the angry eyebrows at a volcanic blast. I was like, okay, all right, I can't. And the Marvel movie stuff, like her like sword fighting all the, oh my God. I was like, this is just, I don't think Marvel movies when I'm thinking Lord of the Rings, I think it's something you brought up is like, why does everything feel like it's got to use morally gray characters now? Is it like a trend? This thing where everything feels like it's got to copy Marvel movies now. Star Wars and Lord of the Rings, I'm sorry, they don't need to be Marvel movies. It doesn't fit that for me. So
they aren't trusting their audiences, and they are chasing after like currency, like current. And I feel like if someone has a strong vision for something and they're just trying to make the art to make the art, it's just usually going to turn out well. I mean, people don't remember that like they thought that the Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's movies weren't going to be successul. Like they took a huge risk. They filmed all 3 of them at once, and people talked about that. Like this could be financial ruin. And I think that kind of quality, like these shows are feeling very mass produced now to hit a subscriber count. And I think you can tell, and that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah. Anyway, we could probably talk the whole episode just about Rings of Power. So let's talk about Booktube. What I always like to ask guests on here, what made you decide one day, hey, I'm pretty good at this talking to the camera thing. Let me turn the camera around and talk to it about reading, because it is such a niche thing. I think it used to be. I mean, Booktube's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. There's some new channel blowing up. It seems like every day now. But what made you decide to go ahead and make the plunge?
Well, Mike, I have a question for you. Did you feel like you were good at talking at a camera first, and that's why you got on Booktube? Because I feel like terrified of the camera.
No, I feel like I was good at talking because I podcasted for about a decade before I did this. But the thing is like I was born with this face, so I was like, that's why I'm going to stick to podcasting, you know. So it really was like I had no problems talking. I sang in choir like all of my life when I was younger and stuff, so I had no problems. I wasn't camera shy or anything, because you know if you can sing in front of people, I think that get in front of a camera isn't a big deal. I wouldn't say like, hey, I'm really really good at this. I think it was just I wanted to get away from podcasting because iTunes is just such a pain in the ass, or at least it was. It's a lot easier now, but it was such a pain in the ass. Like I like this YouTube thing. You just click upload, man. You're done. That's it. You know, and that's why I don't do all the fancy editing and all that stuff. So I felt like I had the important part, which was being able to speak, obviously. But okay. All right. Well, what point did you say, I'm really good at talking, I want to be a booktuber? How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think in some similar veins, I have always been like a confident public speaker. I've never been nervous about public speaking. So that aspect wasn't a problem. But I actually wanted to be a book blogger initially. I had that idea for years. And I'd even like designed and coded a website and like just felt like I didn't have time to do it. And in 2019, I finally was like, well, am I going to do the thing or am I not? But then it was like, you can't start a new blog in 2019, like unless you're an established one's reading blogs anymore. You have to get on YouTube. And I actually didn't want to. It was my husband who just bought me a camera and was like, well, now you have to because you hate wasting money. And so, because I just thought like, I can't put my face and voice on camera like that. It is very vulnerable for me. I really still, it's tough. But I really wanted to talk about books. So I just like did the thing in 2020.
Yeah, it was like a thing for me where I was just like, I was podcasting. My co-host didn't like to read any sci-fi fantasy, so I did this like as a side thing. And then I realized that, hey, there's other people who do this. There's other people who talk about books on YouTube. That's amazing. I had no idea that it was a thing, but okay. All right. Well, I mean, I think you're doing pretty good. Obviously, you're much better at shorts. Like you'll do these shorts, these reels on Instagram, and I'm like, I wish I could do like your one about triggering fandoms. I was like, I wish I could do stuff that clever. My shorts are always just 60 seconds of what one of my videos would be.
You know what? I'll admit it. My shorts, I hate shorts. I hate them. I got on YouTube to do long form content. Right. The shorts I'm making are literally just me praying to the algorithm gods. Like I'll admit it. I am being shameless. I am only making shorts content to try to appease YouTube. Like I'll admit it. Like that isn't really the content that's coming from my heart like my regular YouTube videos are.
Well, I mean, your shorts are good. I mean, I bet you probably got a couple of them that probably got 50, 100,000 views or something, don't you?
Not on YouTube. No, my shorts do very poorly on YouTube. In fact, I was just complaining to a friend the other day because I uploaded the exact same short to my Instagram and it has 100,000 views, but it's gone nowhere on YouTube.
I have much more success with them on Instagram as well. Yeah.
So maybe that's a thing. Maybe Instagram people are just looking at reels more. I don't know.
I mean, first of all, it's like YouTube is like, it doesn't get the format right. I mean, it looks weird if if you're not watching it on a phone. Like if you're watching your desktop, it looks ridiculous.
It looks
With
horrible.
me, it was like, I remember when I started doing shorts and people were like, because I was like, for you, I was like, oh, people will be much more willing to give you a try for a 60-second video than they will a 20-minute one, because all my videos are like 20 minutes, right? And
Totally.
I just, they didn't do anything for me. And I felt like that was when like the channel growth I had kind of like stopped. So I was like, okay, well, maybe it's the shorts. I have no idea. So.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's funny because those shorts that I've made, they take almost just as much, or if not more, editing power than my long form videos, because you're supposed to make them like, these are for people with no attention spans. So they're supposed to be like snappy and like things. And I spend so much time for so little reward that it's like, ugh, I don't know if I can keep going.
Yeah, and it's funny when people tell me, "Oh, you're only doing shorts for the money." I'm like, dude, I got a short that has like 80,000 views, and I've gotten like $1 off of it. We're not doing those for the money, you guys. So I thought, hey, that'll be a good way to bring in new people to your channel that wouldn't come before, right? And I look at each one of them. You could look at the subscribers by that video, and it's like each one of them is like -2, -4.
Yes, exactly. It is not working at all for me either. So maybe I just need to give up on it.
So hey, what are you reading right now?
Right now, I am reading not a fantasy book. So surprising. I'm reading Hamnet. Have you heard of Hamnet?
I have not heard of Hamnet.
It's like it's a very popular historical fiction, and my in real life friend gave it to me for my birthday. So she's like, keeps asking like, when are you going to read it? When are you going to read it? So I'm sitting down and reading Hamnet, but it is a historical fiction, which is like my least favorite genre, but it's pretty good. I'm enjoying it. It's about Shakespeare.
I think that historical fiction for me is like, I started with like Ken Follett, Pillars of the Earth, and then did Bernard Cornwell's Warlord Chronicles. So everything after that's been kind of a letdown. I'm thinking maybe I don't know how much of it just isn't for me, or if I just started at like, the S tier stuff, and now everything else just like, So I don't know.
I just feel like too much historical fiction takes place in World War II. I'm like, why are we all writing about World War II constantly? So this is nice because it's like very old historical fiction. At least it feels different. It is like kind of fantasy adjacent. There's definitely some magical realism. So yeah, I'm liking it. Oh yeah, someone gave me Maggie O'Farrell. Yeah, someone said it in the comments. That's who it's by.
Oh, Ashley. Yeah, Ashley's got a vast threshold for what she will and will not read, where I tend to stick to sci-fi, fantasy, horror, throw a thriller in there every once in a while. Occasionally I'll try to step out of my comfort zone and try something. Like I tried doing A Man Called Uva, and it's like, I can see why people like it, but that's not really like my style. But yeah, Ashley, she'll try.
I'm
anything.
like 90% fantasy, sci-fi, 10% other.
Me? Yeah. I don't know. I feel like you stick with what you know, but I get all the time. I did my top 10 books of all time. And people are like, you don't have any nonfiction on here? No. I advertise my channel as sci-fi, fantasy, horror. Why would I have nonfiction in my top 10 books of all time? So I don't know. Yeah.
That's funny. I do like to read a nonfiction. I usually try to read a few a year because I'm a nonfiction gal, but I would say it would be hard to put that much nonfiction in my top of all time, because usually the nonfiction I read are more analytical. And I feel like the books in your top 10 are going to be books that made you feel something, right? Emotionally connected. Yeah. So yeah, it would make sense to me. There might be a few. I really love Freakonomics. That's probably one of my in the top books. That's a good one. Have you ever read that one?
Freakonomics?
Freakonomics.
Can't say I have. Who is this? What is
this? It's a really old nonfiction. I think it came out like 2006, maybe, I want to maybe say. And it's all about, it's like a really weird book where they use economics to explain everyday phenomenon, like how you could use economics to catch terrorists and stuff like that. Like, it's just like a very interesting way of thinking. And I really loved that book.
I work in finance. I'm surprised I haven't heard of this.
Oh yeah, I feel like you probably enjoy it. I mean, it's probably a little bit of pseudoscience, but it's a very fun. It's a fun book. I enjoy it a lot.
So I guess I've got to ask: did you ever change your mind on Dresden Files? I know you
So
said
I
that you
am going
weren't,
to
you're
start
ready
reading
enough, and you said
Dresden
you changed
Files
your mind,
again.
but did you go back?
I actually committed to trying again.
Okay.
So I'm gonna do it. I don't think people are gonna love the way I'm gonna do it. I am gonna skip some books.
Skipping books. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And how are
My
you going to
current
know?
plan.
How do you
My
know which
current
book
plan
you're
is
going
to
to skip?
Wikipedia article a couple books and start when people says it gets good. So
I feel like everybody's got like a different answer for that. Like for me, I thought it got good at book 3. I also love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I think that book is the first one that felt like a Buffy book. And everyone else says book 4, and then I read book 4, and I was like, it's fine. But for me, 5 was when it took off, and it never let me go again. But yeah, I mean, I'm sure you got told, oh yeah, books 1 and 2 aren't that great. You know, that's the wheel of time for that. Is everybody will tell you right away, oh yeah, by the way, the first 2 books aren't that good. You know, but it
yeah,
seems like
I'm
everyone.
interested. I was gonna do that just for fun. See, people are saying that's Kyle's curse, but I wouldn't normally do that. It's just like people want me to read them, and I just know I will never make it 5 books. If that's truly when it's gonna take, when people think I'm gonna like it, I'm not gonna make it because I don't read as fast. I don't know how fast you read, Mike, but some people on this platform read so much, and I don't have that time. I don't read. I can't.
You're like me. You got a job and kids and stuff. It's hard. I see these people like, oh, Mike, you read so fast. Like, dude, I do like 4 or 5 books a month. Most booktubers are like, I read 74 books this month. What? How? You know, so I don't. I say I read average. It's just I don't do a lot of other things that are extracurricular. I mean, I'll go on my things where I'll binge a TV show or I'll get into a video. Like, are you like me? Your Tears of the Kingdom took over your house too, right?
Oh my
The new
gosh,
Zelda
I am
game?
so obsessed with Tears of the Kingdom.
So things like
Like
that,
it is
that'll happen.
cutting
Yeah.
significantly into my YouTube and reading time because I just want to play constantly.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean
It's
that'll
so
happen.
good, right?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And the thing was, like, I said that, like, oh, there's no way it can be better than Breath of the Wild. I'm like, man, now it makes Breath of the Wild look like a demo. There's so much to do. So yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah, I
haven't
actually
stopped
think we're
playing.
gonna be Tears of the Kingdom for Halloween. We plan our Halloween costumes in August because it takes us that long to make them because we hand make
Oh, you
all of
make
them.
them. Nice. Okay.
Yes, we make them all. And so yeah, that's what I think we're currently gonna do. We'll see.
But going back to Dresden Files, there is like I hate when people will tell you, "Oh, you just got to get to book 7." I mean, this is what I got with Malazan. Oh, when you get to book 6, it's going to be book 6 of Malazan. You know, that's why it's like, really, that you're going to tell me to go that long, and then it's going to be worth it. So it's hard. I feel like when everybody's like, "Oh yeah, if you get to Deadbeat, which is book 7 of Dresden Files, that's when it gets really amazing." And I'm like, all right, so I'll be
Yeah,
interested to
so
hear your
you did like a Malazan read 2 years ago. How did that turn out for you? Because that's what I'm currently doing.
I still haven't finished. It was when I started the read along. We had, I'm not exaggerating, at least 1,000 people were doing it. It was like, wow, I can't believe this. Everybody's like, I've been having this on my list forever. I'm finally going to do it. More than half of them dropped out after the first book. About half of that dropped out after book 2. The people that kind of kept going, they finally, I think, about book 5 or so. I mean, it was a skeleton crew of us by the time I got to where I stopped, which was after book 7, which was just like, oh my
You made it
God.
all the way to 7.
Made to 7, and I'm picking it back up the beginning of next month. I'm going on a vacation here soon. I'm taking it with me on the vacation for Toll the Hound. It's book number 8. But the thing was, like, there was literally 3 of us left in the read. And there might have been more that weren't really talking.
When did you read book 7?
About a year and a half ago.
Are you going to remember anything? I feel like while I'm reading the book, it's hard to remember every detail.
I tell people that talk about, oh, it's a series that was made for reread. I was like, look, I'm never rereading this. It's too long. I'm never rereading. But I'm like, I feel like my first read is a reread because I'm having to reread what I just read because it made no freaking sense. You know, so where are you at? Memories of Ice?
I only finished Memories of Ice, but everything you just said, I feel on such a personal level. So I liked Gardens the most. I actually really liked Gardens. Oh, hi guys.
Did you play Hogwarts Legacy?
So I desperately wanted to, but we never got a PS5. And so I had to wait till it ported to Switch, which I still don't think it's out. But now I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom, and that will be my life for the next year. So I
Yeah, before.
will play Hogwarts Legacy, but at this point, like, I can't imagine a game making me happier than Tears of the Kingdom. So
Yeah, that's kind of what happened here. Is by the time we finally got Hogwarts Legacy, Tears of the Kingdom came out a week later,
yeah.
and then Diablo 4 came out. Then Final Fantasy 16 came out. I was like, we're still playing Zelda. So I've got all this backlog of stuff, and then I did buy a PS5, and then I finished God of War on there, and I just said, forget it. We said, well, we're finished with Tears of the Kingdom. We'll get the Hogwarts Legacy. So we only played like 2 hours of it, but it's really cool. I mean, if you're
I
into
heard
that
it's really
universe.
fun. I mean, I think Hogwarts Legacy will be much easier for me to complete than Tears is the one thing. 'Cause, like, I think Tears is going to at least be like a 500-hour game for me at this point, from the
Oh,
pure amount of time I spend running around doing absolutely nothing but building stuff. Like,
yeah.
like
Me and my kid were building like a kaiju earlier. It was awesome.
it's so fun. Anyway, Malazan. No, I feel you on that. Yeah, I'm still not sure yet because, like, Memories of Ice, there was stuff I just loved in that book, but there was also so much of it that just felt like pulling teeth to get through.
Yeah.
And it's like, is the high points worth the low points? I'm not sure. I am going to at least read book 4, but I don't know.
I want to say yes and no. Like 4 didn't really work for me. 5, it did that thing. Book 5, I'm like, okay, at least I know all this cast now. Completely new cast again. I'm like, oh my God, why do you keep doing this, Steven? And then I got to 6, and they were right. 6 is amazing. You will know every character. You don't have to learn a whole new cast. It's awesome story. It's fast paced. I mean, it's probably the fastest I went through like an 1,100-page book, maybe ever. It was really, really good. And then you advertise like this big matchup that you want to see, this fight you've been waiting for into book 7, and then it just kind of fizzles out. And I'm like, did I really just read 1,200 pages for what I was waiting to happen to not happen? And I think it just burned me out, where I was like, I asked those other survivors that were left, guys, if you want me to finish this with you, I will, because I appreciate you staying with me this whole time. I'll finish with you, Will. But I was like, I feel like if I force myself to keep going after Reaper's Gale, I'm going to end up hate reading it. I need to take a break. And they're like, man, we understand. Yes, please. And so for the last year and a half, I've had Malazan fans accusing me of, well, Joe, why don't you just admit you're not going to finish it? And I'm like, I got no problem telling you that I'm married to a redhead, man. I'm not scared of you. I will tell you if I'm quitting a series. Okay. That wasn't a problem. I was like, I will go back to it when I feel I'm ready to go back to it. And that's going to be next month. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. Malazan fans are interesting because on the one hand, they are some of the most welcoming to new people in a fandom. They're so happy to just have anybody trying it, but they also really struggle with any sort of criticism against the book. Like, I can be like, I like so much of this, and I criticize something, and they'll just be like, well, you didn't get it. And it's like, I did, though. I did get it. I just didn't like it. And that's okay.
See, whereas me with Malazan, I'll flat out look them in the face and be like, yeah, you're right. I didn't get it. I can admit that I did not understand stuff. I mean,
well, there's some things I don't get, and that's fine. But there are some things I am positive I understood and I just didn't like, and that's also okay.
I had pretty good experience with that fandom. I felt like they were pretty cool to me. They really, really were. And this is going to lead me into your how to trigger fandoms video, which I felt in my heart and soul so much, because look, for you, it might take you saying some of those things. For me, it's saying, I thought this Brandon Sanderson book was good. Just, it wasn't anything special. That's what triggers fandoms on my page.
Well, so those triggering fandom was definitely meant to be over the top, and still people didn't get it. Like, I still am getting messages, people being like, I can't believe you like the Hobbit movies. And I'm like, the point is that I don't, but okay. No, but the funny thing, I had a part 2 of that triggering fandoms. And in that one, I just said my Dresden opinion, which was, I didn't like the first book because I don't really like serials. And they were like, oh, I'm like, that's what I said that triggered an entire fandom. I have Dresden fans hate me. And I was like, look, I gave your book 3 stars. That is an average rating for me. Like, that is what I give majority of books, is 3 stars. It wasn't like I gave it a 1 star. It was just like, it was fine.
Let's talk about that. We talked about the Goodreads rating. For me, it was like, when did 3 out of 5 become a bad grade? It's like everything has to be 5 stars or 1 star. It's like most books I read, because I was like, I only give 5 stars or something I think is something that they'll be reading. I'll want to go back to 20 years from now and read again. That's the way I look at it. Something I think is going to be really special, something I'm never going to stop thinking about. And people hated that, because I think people like to they love to throw out 5 stars. Like, so you're telling me it's a perfect book. A perfect book.
I do not throw out a 5 stars.
And
It is
people got
hard
mad
for me.
about that. And they're like, "Oh, well, you bring the Goodreads rating." That's not my fault. That's Goodreads' fault. You blame Goodreads. This is my rating system. If they want to put it out of 10, cool. And then you'll say 7 out of 10 is a bad score. Because that's probably what I would give the majority of stuff I read is probably a 7 out of 10, which is really good. It's just not an all timer. So,
Yeah.
anyhow. Sorry.
I mean, that's why you have to get to know a reviewer, though, right? Because like some reviewers, they'll give everything 5 stars, and some reviewers won't. Like for me, a 5-star means a lot. 3 is just kind of where I sit normally on a book I'm not sure about.
I think it's just the thing that people want you to either you absolutely love it or you absolutely hate it. It's not to say, "Hey, I really liked it." That's hard. Like I just reviewed Will the Mini by James Iton. I was really positive on it, but I did say I just didn't think it was anything earth shattering. And I just talked to the author, and he thought that was great. He thought it was fine, but people got bent out of shape about it. So I mean, I think it's just the way that most people are wired now. Because you saw this with you're into gaming, so you can get this. 8 out of 10 is apparently a bad score for a video game now. I was like, when did that happen? 8 out of 10 used to be really freaking good. That was go buy it, and now it's like anything less than a 9.5 is bad. I'm like, how did we get here? So
I mean, I've actually noticed review creep, I guess is what you could call it. Like I remember back in the day, this is a simple one because I have young kids, so we look up like ratings for cartoons a lot. And I'm like, back in the day, if a cartoon got like a 90% on Rotten Tomatoes, you're like, wow, the cartoon must have been really good. And now like every Disney cartoon gets like a 98. And I'm like, what meaning does this have to me? Like if it's a Disney cartoon, just like 100%. That's true.
Maybe it used to be that way. I don't know. Maybe I've just gotten older and more jaded, but gosh, these things have become painful to watch for me. And I've watched all these things with my kids, but there's some of these things lately. I'm like, man, this is bad. I mean, even Pixar movies aren't that good for me anymore. Pixar used to be automatic. You know who has the hottest takes about Pixar movies? Adults. Adults have the movies that they're not made for, the crew that they're not made for. Adults have the hottest takes about Pixar movies.
They go so deep into them, and I'm like, what? This is a movie for a child. Like I think it must have been Encanto. Like we watched Encanto, fine, whatever. Yeah. And there were these people going on and on about how these characters didn't have enough character development and how they needed to be a sad ending. And I'm like, this is a movie for like 5-year-olds. Like, why are we thinking so deeply about this?
I just got that with taking the kids to see Mario Brothers, and they loved it, and people were just like mad about it because they loved it. I was like, dude, it was made for them. I mean, I know that my generation feel like they grew up with it or whatever, and I was like, I feel like my generation really liked it. I don't know. Like,
okay,
I remember
I did actually hate the Mario movie, but my kids did love it, so I'll give it a gold star.
Why did you hate it? What did you not like about it?
I didn't hate it. I just thought there was some missed opportunities. I just thought the plot was like so basic. I grew up like I love the Paper Mario franchise and Mario 64 and like stuff like that. And I was just like, this story just feels so like uncreative. I just kind of wish they had just used a little bit more creativity. I actually didn't hate it. I thought there was a lot to enjoy about it. I thought it was a fun time. I did think the voice acting was pretty subpar though. Other than Jack Black.
I wasn't crazy about, Jack Black was great. I wasn't crazy about was it Seth Rogen was Donkey Kong, right? But they could have done better.
Oh, I don't know. I was just surprised because I actually really like Anya Taylor-Joy. I think she's a really cool person. And her voice, I don't know if it's what they gave her to read, but it was just so flat. Like these are video game characters. You expect it to kind of have like a silliness to it, And it wasn't there. But my kids loved it. So, I mean, we've seen it several times.
Me and my wife, since you're playing Tears of the Kingdom, me and my wife cannot stand the voice for Zelda in Tears of the Kingdom. She sounds like she's either really cold or she's about to break down and cry. Every time like every time she's talking, like, what is wrong with her?
Link, come. It's like really high and breathy. Link, come. You have to find it.
And the thing is like a Zelda dungeon. They've been like the Zelda site that I've went to since I was like waiting for the N64 Zelda came out years ago.
Yes,
so I follow them on Twitter. And they're like so over the top about how great this voice actress is that voiced Zelda. And I'm just like, are they talking about something else? Or
I mean, I thought the joke was how bad all of like the voices are in Zelda. Like, I don't know if you've seen that thing. Someone sent it to me and it was like voice acting in Tears of the Kingdom. It's like,
the voice actor for Link is terrible. I'm like, you mean the person that goes,
Does he even have a voice? Is he just like Like maybe that's the thing. Zelda's like the only person who talks in the
Right.
thing.
I do have to give you credit on something though. Since we're going to play off the Dresden Files thing here, you were the first booktuber I found who was feeling how I felt about Codex Alera, because I think it was just because everybody loves Dresden Files so much that I was like, Codex Alera, I was like, I don't think it's bad. It's just not good. I don't know. It was just whatever. And yours was the first video I found where there was like, yeah, I'm quitting. This isn't good. And it's not bad, but it's not good. I was like, she knows what I'm saying. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it's funny because everyone was like, well, if you don't like the Dresden Files, then you'll love Codex Alera. And I was like, I'm willing to do it. And then I was like, look, Dresden was kind of better though, because at least I understood what Dresden was trying to do, even if it's not necessarily my thing, like as urban fantasy. But yeah, Codex Alera was extremely mid. Like I don't hate it. I also feel nothing for it though at the same time.
Yeah. I shelved it after book 2 and was like, I'm not saying I'm DNFing it, but I have no excitement to go back to it. You know?
Well, and that was the other thing, because I actually looked up. I was like, here, I'm going to go find someone who I tend to like the same books. And I'm going to see what they rated the other books. And they rated all the other books lower than book 1. Ew. So then to me, it was like, okay, if this is the best it's going to get, I'm just going to go.
Yeah, Scott the Ball Booktuber kind of really broke the glass for me one day. It made me realize something. He's like, if you're reading a series and you like each book less than the previous one, I think about quitting. That's when I said, you know what? I should quit reading Demon Cycle because it's not getting better. So yeah. You haven't done that one, have you? Demon Cycle?
No, I haven't. My husband's read that one though. I think he liked it. Our book's still coming out. He definitely quit if books are still coming out though.
I think he's doing like a same world new series, but same world kind of thing. With those, but I quit that with like book 4. I know you also quit Lightbringer around the same time that I quit Lightbringer by Brent.
I quit Lightbringer after book 4. Did you just not read book 5?
I read book 4 and it was so painful. I had already ordered a signed copy of book 5 because the first 2 were excellent, and I was like, oh great, I'm just going to get all these on hardcover. And 3 was okay. And I was like, not bad. It still has some stuff. I can see a little bit of cracks in the foundation. 4 was so terrible. I was like, I'm gonna take a break before I read book 5. This 3 years later, I still haven't done it. I don't think.
Well, then I heard. So I never expected not to read book 5. It was like book 5 came out, and then everyone was like, book 5 sucks, and I didn't also like book 4, and I couldn't really remember a ton about book 4 because if I don't love a book, I feel like it immediately leaves my mind. Whereas I can read a book once, and if I love it, the details stay forever. And so then I also felt like I didn't know enough, so I just never read it. So I guess we're in the same spot, but I got spoiled. I had my husband read it, and he was like, yeah, it wasn't great.
You have an author that's somewhat popular that just does not click for Brent Weeks for me, for sure. But is there an author out there that you feel like super popular, but you're just like, I don't get it?
I mean, I guess Jim Butcher, but I am going to give him another try because I've been bullied into it. It's hard for me to give up on an author. I feel like I don't know who. I feel like there's always something I like about people. I mean, I didn't like The Witcher either, so I guess.
Yeah, about The Witcher. Okay, you've tried this twice, right? And you felt the same way both times. Super sexist and just not very good translation.
Well, I wonder if it's a translation thing. I actually did like the second book significantly more than the first book, but I did. I thought it was really sexist, and I stand by it.
Here's something that's been driving me crazy, and I finally said something about it recently, and I saw there was a legion of people that actually agree with me. Is I am so sick of male fantasy authors writing about female cycles. Please stop it. It's driving me crazy, and Sikorsky is one of the biggest ones to do it for sure. And I want to blame the translation on that one because it's so bad. It's like, why do male fantasy authors? I'm convinced that they just write 13-year-old girls so they can talk about cycles. And I'm like, you guys, did you guys go over this and be like, hey, wife, can you explain this to me so I can write something about it? I have no idea why this is a thing. I feel bad now for complaining about male fantasy authors writing sex scenes because I'll take that a million times over them writing about cycles. Please stop.
I was thinking the only time I think it's ever been successful is Joe Abercrombie did, I guess, briefly write about it in this Age of Madness. And the way he wrote about it, I didn't think was gross or weird. I think it was Savine, from Savine's perspective, because it's kind of how she finds out she's pregnant. Oh gosh, that was a huge spoiler. I'm so sorry. Everyone strike that from your mind. I didn't mean that.
You don't know the baby comes. You don't know she
And
carries
so
the baby. It's her.
it was okay, but I agree with you mostly. And I think, the funny thing is, there was a Witcher fan in here. The Witcher fans were really great about it, to be honest, for the most part. Like after I had to deal with the Dresden fans, Witcher fans, like a lot of them were like, I see where you're coming from. Like once I actually explained what I was saying, they're like, I get it. Like I like the series, but I also get what you're saying. And I think there is room for me. Like I like series that there's stuff that I don't think is great in all the time, but it's still okay to talk about it, you know?
What I'll say about The Witcher, and not necessarily about the sexism, just like the story itself is like that same rule I was just talking about, where you feel like each book, yeah. I admit I came into the series because I enjoyed the games, the video games, like everybody else, and I wanted more of that. I wanted Geralt. I wanted monster hunting. I like Yennefer. I like Ciri. I don't want the books to be about Yennefer and Ciri, where Geralt's like a character back in the background down here somewhere.
Is
And
that what
that's
happens?
yeah, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I agree in the terms. Well, first of all, everyone usually says Witcher 3, the video game, is about the best Witcher ever is, period. And I also understand why The Witcher is so popular, because I did really like the character of Geralt and the like the world building. Like, yeah, this monster hunter, like that's a super interesting element, but I just don't think it's realized for me in the books.
That's another one of those. I feel like I gotta hopefully blame the translation, because I feel like this is just such a popular series. Why is it not clicking more for me? And I bought it twice because they've came out with those really nice hardcovers recently, and so I bought the series twice now. So I'm gonna finish it. I'm on
Good luck.
four. I don't know. I like to talk about something that people ask me to do, and I'm like, I'm not good at it. Is I like the essays that you do. I wish that I could do something, because I'm honest. I think that blows away anything that I make on my channel. I wish I could do stuff that's well thought out like that. I'm more of a conversationalist, whereas you guys do research and you point out all your reasons so meticulously and it wrap everything up in a nice bow. I wish that I could do that. What really motivates you? Or how did you just decide to make stuff like that?
Well, I mean, I think your conversational thing is like why you're so popular. It's because it's authentic to who you are. Just like research and over analyzing stuff is authentic to who I am. Like I didn't set out to do that. It's just kind of who I've always been as a person. And I think ultimately, like just being who you are is probably what makes people respond to you. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I'm good. Like I have tried to just sit in front and do a conversational style review like you do, and it just doesn't go well. It's just not good, because it's just not how I can interact with the camera. Sure. You know, I don't think one's better than the other.
I think they're really great. I get people asking me, why don't you try to do something like that? I'm like, because that's not my strength. I couldn't do it. You know, so like, or do like deep dives and stuff. I'm like, I feel like there's other channels like Quinn, who does a lot of Dune content, because everybody's like, oh, you love Dune, you should make some videos like that. And what, be discount Quinn? No, I don't think that I would do that very well. He's obviously the best at doing that. I can't do that better. Why would I try to do that? Or Jay at Capturing Words. He does like these amazing edits and stuff. I'm like, have you watched my channel? I do like 0 special effects and stuff in my videos. I don't know why you think that I would do something like Jay does, you know? So I think it's just, you know, people love one channel. They kind of say like, hey, why don't you try? I'd love to see what you try to do with that. Look, I don't even like reviewing books that are super, super popular already, because I'm like, what can I say? Like when I was reviewing Stormlight Archive, I'm like, what can I say that a million other channels have not already said? But, you know, I'll do it because I was reviewing every single Cosmere book at the time. But I don't know. It's weird. It's weird.
I mean, and that's one of the reasons, like, I don't review Cosmere books, right? I just do my I do Cosmere connections for the same reason. Because I'm like, why would I review a Cosmere book? Why would you go to me instead of Daniel?
You haven't reviewed any Cosmere books, have you?
No, I don't review any of them. I only do Cosmere connections.
Didn't you just do one for Yumi?
No, but it's not a review. It's not a review. It's literally me just talking about all the connections to the other works, like all of the Cosmere nuggets. Like I don't actually sit there and be like, this is what I like, this is what I didn't. I'm just straight there to tell you what it means in the greater Cosmere universe.
How was Yumi? Did you like it?
I enjoyed it quite a bit. Yeah.
Haven't got it.
Way better than 2. I didn't really like Secret Project 2, so I thought it was much better.
I only read his Cosmere books. So I read Tress, but because I think you got it too, that nice box from Dragonsteel for Tress of the Emerald Sea. Didn't
Yeah.
you get that? Yeah, that was gorgeous, wasn't it? I was no way I was not going to not read it immediately after they sent me that. But I liked it. I had a good time with it. But I want to get to Yumi sometime
Yeah, my
soon.
husband liked Yumi better than Tress. He felt like it was more like fantasy-ish, so maybe you'll like it better too. I liked him about the same, I think.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you haven't actually reviewed Cosmere books. Huh. How about that?
Yeah.
You did review.
I just was why would you listen to me review Cosmere books? There's so many other people like Murphy, like so many people who do it better. So like I'll just leave the
Right, that's
reviews
how
to
I feel.
them, you know? Yeah.
You did finish and review Ship of Theseus though. The like
That
mystery
was
book with
I
all those.
actually read that book like in 2012.
I want to know how you did it because I started reading it last year, and it had been. I think I had spent probably 20 hours studying that book, and I was on like page 25. I was like, I'm never. This is way too time consuming for me. So I think people are like, oh, just let yourself go. I can't. I can't. I have to research everything on every single page. I have to go back. Okay, this said this here, this there. I'm following the line. It was just too much. I was like, I'm going to get way too lost in this book, and I'm not going to read anything else. And then my whole channel is going to be me breaking down Ship of Theseus, and I couldn't do that.
You know what? I think it benefited me that I read it so long ago. Like it was, I think the year it came out, my friend gifted it to me. And so I did allow myself just to kind of read it. Like I read it page per page. I'd read the main story, and then I'd read all of the text written in around it. And you know what? It was a fun time. The ending's not worth it, Mike. I'm just here to tell you.
Okay, that was my
The
next
ending's
question.
not worth it. So
Okay.
let it go because the ending's not worth it.
Here's a question from Bo. I'm not getting on Threads, but he wants to know if you're going to get on Threads. Yeah.
What's funny is my husband actually works for Instagram.
Oh,
So he was like trying to get me to join Threads like first day, like before, because like we knew, you know, and I just refuse. I'm not on Twitter for a reason, and Threads is just the new Twitter. So I have no reason to go join Threads.
I'm with you. I was like, I got enough social media. I don't need one more. Really,
Exactly
I use
how I
social media. Like Twitter, I use a little more than just marketing because I'm a big into sports and stuff and video games and movies. I like to follow all that stuff too. So I really use for that. But I was like, I got a TikTok and I never use it because you talked about TikTok videos are supposed to be dancing and singing and being a goofball, and that's not my
never
style.
been on TikTok.
Yeah.
And I
So I
wear
was like,
that badge of
I'm
pride.
good with Instagram and Twitter and my Discord. That I'm good with that. I only keep Facebook so my mom can have kid pictures, not hound me for kid pictures all the time. You know, that's really what that's for. I already feel like it's too much social media to keep up with, you know. So yeah, no,
I
I
only
shall
have
not.
Instagram. So I feel YouTube and Instagram.
Yeah.
That's it.
Instagram. And the thing is like I tell people this a lot is that as far as like my crossover traffic from social media, I get way more on my channel from Instagram than any other social media platform. I really, really do. So you get more people clicking links. You get more people that you can look up the traffic where they're coming from. It comes 10 to 1 over Twitter without a doubt. So
I understand. I don't really feel like mine has a lot of crossover, but I do feel like Instagram is a great place to talk to people. Like it's how I can like get to know other creators and have people able to like message me and stuff since I don't have a Discord. So I think that's why I like the
yeah, that's
Instagram.
when Zach was like, hey, she's gonna message you, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna email me. He's like, no, she doesn't even have a Twitter, so she's gonna message you on Instagram. So you know, and I don't know about you, with me, Instagram, like everything goes straight to my filter, like everything. If it's someone I'm not following, like right away. So yeah.
Yeah, I get a lot of stuff is filtered out. But not everything. I must have my filters on not good filters because I get a lot of message straight to my inbox. But it's a fun place, but it's a place for me to review since I'm not on Goodreads. So
This one actually kind of made me laugh a little bit. Is a video you did, I guess it was Mother's Day, right? Dead fantasy moms, really, because I did a video a while back of like, oh, hey, best sci-fi and fantasy dads. You got to one up that with dead fantasy moms, huh?
well, the funny thing about I have to go watch. I didn't see your best dads video because I do feel like you get dead moms and then deadbeat dads. And it's just like, okay, where are the like happy, like normal, good parenting in sci-fi and fantasy? Who topped your list?
I didn't rank them. I just did like my favorites.
Okay.
I don't rank very much because then everything just becomes about your ranking and not actually
It's
like
true. But
talking about
who was on it then? Give me like 5 people who were on it.
Gosh. Leto Atreides. I don't know. I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was just curious. Trying to think of good dads, period. I don't know. Like looking back at my books, I'm like, who's a good dad?
Yeah, I mean, lately it seems like all the fantasy I read, it's basically the coming of ages when their parents die. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I get where you're coming
from.
What
about Rand? I mean, Tam Althor.
Tam Althor was on there. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Now, note that I did say my favorite, not the best, because I did have Dalinar on there, you know.
I was going to say, you can't put Dalinar as best, but favorite is fine.
Yeah, Ned Stark, you know, stuff like that. I admire for being creative there because I know my friend Madison, she did, best moms in sci-fi and fantasy. So I did best dads in sci-fi fantasy. And then this year I was like, hey, I don't really know. I don't want to do that video again. But I didn't have any ideas, you know, so it's just like, why dads should read to their kids kind of thing. But I was like, hey, she's got one. Dead moms. It's pretty good.
Dead moms.
Dead
Why
moms
are they dead all the time? Why are they dead more than fantasy dads? You know, like that's the real question. Like it's always the mom that's dead.
Are you gonna be going with Zach to Dragon Con?
No.
No?
He wanted me to go so bad, but it's just like we missed our kids' first day of school last year because we were in London. And it's right when my kids start school. And I'm like, I just can't miss their first day of school again. So I am just staying home. But we are both going to Dragon Steel Con. So that will be fun.
Where's that? Is that in Utah?
Yeah, we're in Utah because where Dragon Steel headquarters is. We've never been, but that should be fun.
Cool. I applied for Dragon Con, but I applied as like a participant, I guess, or something like that. Not as just like a sweaty, a person who's going to sit there and be in a tin can with everybody else. I was like, at this point in my life, I'm like, if I'm going to spend that time and money to go out there, be away from my kids and all that stuff, I was like, I'm not going out there just as someone to sit in a line and then maybe get into a thing like that. But yeah, they turned me down, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. I only applied.
Yeah, so I think Zach actually told me about that. He's like, this is so dumb. Mike got turned down. Like he's a normal reviewer. Like I apparently have no hope if I wanted to try to get in. And I was like, yeah, tough sell.
Is he just going as just a Joe Blow? He's not going as himself.
Well, he has like a table, like so he's going to sell books and stuff there. He's using it as a network event. So, but that's like different than what I think you were trying to do.
What was that con you went to where you interviewed Fonda Lee at? What was that?
Oh, that wasn't actually a con. That was just at our local Barnes and Noble. And she was just doing a signing there. And we know the bookseller at that Barnes and Noble. So she asked me if I'd be willing to interview them. It's a super cool
She's so nice. I interviewed her after I finished Greenbone. She's awesome. She's really nice.
She is so nice and so insightful. She's such a fun person to talk to.
And she's a finance major like me, so we can nerd out about that kind of stuff. And if you've read Greenbone, guys, you know she's a finance major. She doesn't keep the socioeconomics to herself. And you liked the Greenbone. You did a Why You Should Read on Greenbone, right?
I loved Greenbone. I thought it was a fantastic series.
So let me guess.
I love what?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I love when authors have things like a finance background, something like that, and you see it so clearly in a book. Like that's always very fun. That's all I was gonna say.
Well, I was going to say, let me guess, you like Jade Legacy the best.
I did. I'm sorry. Is that making me basic?
No, it's fine. I think I'm the only one who doesn't like Jade Legacy the best. So,
which was your favorite?
Well, Jade Legacy was
not Jade Legacy.
The thing was, I liked it. It was one of those things where all it made me want is for the series to keep going, to be 5 books and her to take her time. Mm-hmm. Because I was like, she's going through the years so fast, and I feel like she's wanting me to be connected to these kids. I'm not getting connected to these kids because I'm not watching them grow up, So that was just like my thing. But it was a really, really great story. It was a great finale. The way it finished was really, really good. I was happy with it. And Hilo did nothing wrong, you guys. I will fight that fight forever. Hilo did nothing.
Whoa. Let's back up.
Oh, I
Hilo
got the
did
eyebrows up on
nothing
that one.
wrong.
Yes. So
That's like saying
Jade War is great.
now we can all love Hilo, but saying Hilo did nothing wrong.
Look, if there are people who say Moash did nothing wrong, I don't think I'm really making too many waves saying that Hilo did nothing wrong.
People like to defend Hilo. You know, when I read that scene in Jade War, everyone was on, I forget what Discord, it might have been on Alan's Discord or something, and everyone was like, no, I totally get why he did that, and it's totally, and they're defending him, and I had to be like, excuse me, like, I'm fine if we are on Hilo's side because he's the protagonist, but like, excuse me, like, no.
It's one of those things where I'm
Ryan,
like, look, maybe
Hilo did
because
many things wrong, and people still like it.
part of it at this point is a joke for me, just because it gets reactions one way or the other. It really just me just being an instigator and just stroking that fire.
I love that. But you know what?
Do that.
I actually Hilo, like it took me a long time to get on the Hilo train, which might be why I am more biased against him. Like I feel like I'm the only one, like my unpopular Jade or Green Bone opinion is like I just wasn't into Hilo at all until like Legacy.
Wow, okay. All right.
So there's my hot take.
Hot takes. I got a few of those. What would you say is like one of your biggest book hot take? Mine's that Name of the Wind is Name of the Mid, but you know, what's your biggest book hot take?
What catchy. I like that. I mean, we've covered several. My Dresden Witcher opinions, I think, have made people the most angry. You know, I don't care about the fake stickers on books. They don't bother me.
Oh, wow.
Like, who cares?
Wow. You know? I bet you dog ear your pages too, don't you? You crack your spine?
I'm not a monster. Okay. I have standards. I'm just saying that the sticker, it's great if they're not there, but it's like not the end of the world. Like it's fine, you know?
No, I don't crack spines. I don't highlight. I mean, I got a Kindle if I want to highlight anything, you know?
I definitely don't highlight. I am not an annotator of books. I don't like that. But I will say, like, I do buy books meaning to be read. So if something happens to them, like if the spine breaks, like when I'm reading it naturally, it doesn't upset me. Like, yeah, I might have spilled a snack or two on a book I've read. Like, that's okay. But no, I don't purposely destroy.
Besides hot takes, what do you say was I don't know, what's like a series everyone like tells you that you've got to try and you keep like kind of kicking that can down the road because you're not sure if you're gonna like it or not? I'll go ahead and tell you, because I know it's one that you love. For me, it's Discworld is one that I just keep. I don't know when I'll ever start it. I'm not against it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna look. British humor with me is like a big hit or miss, and I loved Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide, and everybody tells me, oh, you like that, you'll probably like Discworld, but I'm afraid I'm not gonna like it. I'm just gonna have another fandom that I make angry. So
have you read any Neil Gaiman?
Just Stardust and Sandman, obviously.
Okay, yeah. Because I was gonna say, like, Good Omens could be like a good start because it's both Gaiman and Pratchett, so maybe it could like ease you in to see if it's something interesting. I think Good Omens is really great, but if Good Omens' humor is like for you, then you probably shouldn't go to Discworld. That could be a good litmus test.
So what's a series that people recommend to you to try a lot that you haven't tried yet?
Game of Thrones.
Wow, okay. You don't think you'll like it?
I actually think I would like it. The thing that's holding me back is like the show. I mean, I never watched the show, but it was so popular for how like gratuitous and gross it was. And I just don't really like gratuitously gross things. Like I am just somebody who just really doesn't like graphic stuff. Like it's just not my flavor. So I haven't read it for that reason. I do have like a whole army of people trying to tell me that the books aren't graphic like the TV show is.
No, they are. Yeah, they are.
So there's the army. Like I just don't like stories that center a lot around like assault and things like that. It's just not. I'm sure they're fantastic. Like I'm sure I'd like them because I like fantasy, you know. And, but yeah, I just been kicking the part where I tell you
maybe you should hit pump the brakes a little bit on Malazan then because yeah.
So everyone warned me about that. So everyone thinks like if I make, like they said book 4 is going to be make or break it for me, that it might be too dark for me. And I like said from the very beginning, like if I read a book and it's too graphic for me, like I will quit because I just don't like it. So we'll see. Book 3 even got gross. Like Children of the Dead Seed Like, please, disgusting.
That's messed up, right? And then Philip actually tried to tell me, no, it's actually not grimdark. And I'm like, what? Phil, stop it.
I think that is actually the worst thing I've ever read, but it's only because Erickson wasn't graphic about it that I could like stomach through it.
Sure.
Like, because he didn't, nothing was described. It was just what it was. But I think that is like singularly the grossest thing I've ever read.
This is a book where they're killing so many people that the bodies are stacking so high they're going to the next floor of a building, and that's not the most messed up thing in the book because of the Children of the Dark Sea. Yeah. Way too much.
So I've heard 4 gets worse. So
there's a character, the first 2 parts of the book, he does something he's never done. He focuses on just one character, which is actually pretty good. But if you
for all of book 4,
no, the first half of it, he does part 1, part 2, part 3, but like that. The first 2 books of book number 4, he will stick with one character. He's actually really good at it, but that character is very divisive. It's Karsa, you'll say. I'll leave it there.
Is it a new character or is it a character we've met?
No, it's a new character.
Of course.
It's a Malazan book, so we'll see. But you brought up a video, say where you were asking, do you think that gray characters are kind of like a trend or a fad now? And I think here's something with me is I loved it when it was like First Law. I feel like ever since then, all fantasies try to do that or Song of Ice and Fire. They've all tried to make all their characters so great. And they realize all you're doing is making your characters unlikable to a point where it's just like everything is so damn grim and dour and hopeless now. And it's like, I'm not having any fun reading any of this stuff anymore, to a point to where when I first read Ryan Cahill's books, the Bound and Broken, I'm like, why does this just feel like something I needed? Because it's like, because the characters aren't pieces of shit. You've actually got good and bad characters. I'm like, wow, I had no idea how much I missed that. So I think you're definitely right. It's gotten way out of control.
I read a great article or blog post someone wrote about that. And they said that like the OG grimdark people, like when you think of, well, not OG, but like some of the people who are most famous, like Martin or Abercrombie, there's actually a lot of levity and humor in there. Like they don't take it so seriously. And they said it's been the detriment to grimdark that everyone is taking it so seriously and it has to be like the darkest it's ever been. And it's taking a lot of the joy out of reading those things. And I really identified with that. Like, that's why reading Abercrombie feels okay, because I mean, his books are hilarious. Like, I laugh out loud in his books. He's so funny. He's so witty. And so I think we've lost that balance. And like, yeah, I'm basic. I like heroes. I like to read about heroes. It's fun.
Yeah. The
world sucks enough.
Have you read the Cahill books, Ryan Cahill books?
No, I mean, we do have the gorgeous version like right there. Yeah. I know Ryan. We met him, but Zach's read them, but I haven't yet. I'm going to. There's just too much to read.
Hey, speaking of Zach, how excited were you guys with how the Kickstarter went? It's pretty awesome, right?
Yeah, mind blowing. We were not expecting that at all.
I mean, I feel like a lot of those, it's like they'll fund really quick now. But I was like, man, it just seemed like every time I was over there, it popped up another 10 grand. So I was like, that's awesome. That's great. I can't wait to get mine because I haven't read Threadlight yet. So I told him after I get it, I was like, I'm not rushing you at all. I was like, do you think we'll get it before the end of the year? Just because I'm trying to, I schedule stupid long time in advance. And I was like, I want to make sure that I can read the first book, because I have a rule that I won't have an author on my channel unless I've read them. And I was like, I want to have them on, but I was like, I want to read, Voice of War first. And so, I was going to wait for that nice, pretty edition that I paid for. So he said it's supposed to.
Yeah, I always feel that way. Like that Fonda Lee interview, Django Wexler was also there, and I hadn't read anything of his. So I like quickly went out and read a couple books. So I was like, I can't go like talk to somebody if I don't at least know what you're about. I just
bought his, gosh, I forget what it was, but on May the 4th, he was talking about the book. These books were inspired by Star Wars, so I bought those, but I haven't read.
Ashes of the Sun is the first one in that one.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. So you like him, Django Wexler?
Django Wexler. He is silent. I actually was surprised. I didn't really love the first book in that Star Wars series, which surprised me because I really am a huge Star Wars fan. I liked his 1,000 Names series better, which was the military fantasy, which is usually not my thing, but I actually really enjoyed that one. So I liked that one.
Like Star Wars, but so I know that you liked Andor, and I know everyone's, oh god, you gotta watch Andor. After Obi-Wan, I was so pissed off I was like, I'm done. I can't take it anymore. I cannot watch them destroy
Mike,
another
Mike,
childhood
Mike,
hero one more time.
let me talk to you. After Obi-Wan, I was so angry. I said I would never watch another Star Wars show again. And the only reason I watched Andor is because I literally had like 12 people messaging me on Instagram every day telling me to watch Andor. So, Mike, you guys said I hated Obi-Wan so much. Well, let's actually see here. How about the sequels? Sequels were garbage. Are we on the same page?
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm also a prequel apologist. So how do you feel about that?
Here's the thing. It's like, I mean, obviously, I think I'm a little older. So I'm original trilogy. So yeah, we hated the prequels when they came out. Kind of started tolerating them after a while. The Disney sequel trilogy was so bad, it made us start to appreciate, and it validated the prequels as pretty good. At least they felt like Star Wars. And I don't feel like Disney has felt like Star Wars like yet. So.
Yeah, I hated the sequels, and my hot take was like I actually didn't like The Force Awakens even. So like I went in and I didn't like The Force Awakens, and everyone else liked it, and then I felt like I was being a poo-pooer, but then by the end of it, everyone was on my side, and I was like, I told you that The Force Awakens wasn't a good movie, and now you all see that I was right.
I wanted it to be great so much that I was like, look, it not being terrible. And even I was like, I don't. People are like, oh, it's just a remake of New Hope. I'm like, it's just Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. It's fine. But like 8 and 9 were so bad, it made 7 even worse in hindsight. To where I'm like, I don't think I could rewatch that movie now.
7 bothered me because I was just like, there was not a new thought in this movie, and that bothered me a lot because the one thing I can't understand is that the Star Wars galaxy and the like AU and the books, the Star Wars books, there's so much there.
Right.
How are we redoing the movie? Like, I get it. Finn is charming and Rey is charming. Like, they're charming characters. I have no problem. But like, there wasn't a new idea.
Yeah, Death Star again. All right.
Again. Oh, a relationship reveal again. Yeah. Like a trio again. A cute robot again. Like, it's so left heart. This is what Andor. The thing about Andor is like it is so different because it doesn't feel like any other Star Wars. So like that's why I liked it, because it was like a new thought. Like that's why I liked it. But Obi-Wan was truly, oh yeah. I did have to, like, I had the same conversation on another channel because I really am trying to spread the good word of Andor.
That's why I'm avoiding talking about Red Rising. I can't do that to myself right now. So
can I defend myself on the Red Rising thing, because I did not hate Red Rising at all. It was kind of like what you did with Malazan, whereas like I read the first 2 and I always planned on reading the 3rd and I just never got to it. It wasn't like I made a decision to stop reading Red Rising. I didn't hate it or anything. It's just sometimes you just don't get to the next series and then it feels like you're so far removed you don't know how to return to the series anymore.
Yeah, that's why me with trilogies, I try to schedule them like 1 per month or just to do them all in a row to try to do it, or else I will. There's series now where I'm like I'm trying to go back to it and I can't. Yeah.
It's
no. They said they gave Golden Sun a 10 out of 10. You like got up and walked away.
So see, this was out of context. Because I have no problem with Golden Sun getting a 10 out of 10 or 5 out of 5 or whatever. His whole thing was, though, that they do an objective rating where you rate on prose and not vibes. Like, so you rate on prose and world building and whatever. And he was explaining to me that even though he didn't think Golden Sun's prose was good, he gave it a 10 out of 10 anyway. And I said, that's fine, but that's called vibe rating, which is what I do. There's nothing wrong. I vibrate all the time. It's like, if I like a book, great. If I don't break it down. Do you break it down? Like, I don't care about good prose, or if I like it, I like it. It doesn't matter. So I was just arguing with that.
A lot of the thing where people are like, oh, that's so bad for authors when you say you're going to wait for the series to be. I said, how is it bad for authors? I didn't read Jade Legacy. I didn't read Greenbow until Jade Legacy came out, but I bought the first 2 books. I don't feel like that's hurting authors if I'm buying their books and I'm just waiting for the trilogy to finish. I don't want it. It's not because I don't trust them. People think it's because I was reading Song of Ice and Fire in the year 2000 and they think that I have trust issues now. And I might, but it's the thing. It's just like, there's so much stuff I have in here that is completed. And I'm going to read that first. So I'm just waiting for other things to finish, but I will still support the author and buy them. You know?
Maybe they're saying because if everyone waits, then the first one won't sell or something.
I
I don't
mean,
know. I am not a truther like that, though. I will read a book the first time it's out. I don't even care. I'm just like, whatever.
hey, how's Spiffbo go? Is it still going? How long does Spiffbo last?
It's always going on. The answer is there is never a time where Spiffbo is not happening,
I
Mike.
thought you
It
were
is.
announcing winners and stuff, so I didn't know if you actually picked like a winner yet.
No, so last year's ended in May. So they did just announce a winner in May, but it's the new one's already started again. So we are now in the next SPFBO year.
Oh, so it's just year
So
round all the way.
it's
I'll
literally
admit
year round.
I'm kind of new to self pub. I admit that I was one of those people who was kind of had that incorrect assumption that, oh, well, if someone's self pub, that just means they're not good enough to, get picked up by traditional publishing. And that was a learning thing for me. I would have never learned about this myself. And looking back on it, like, that was really ignorant of you. I'm not going to admit it. I mean, or say that was smarter than that. I mean, that's just what I believed, and I've learned a lot more about what goes on with traditional publishing now. And I killed the ears of some self-pub authors and stuff. And I've learned a lot about it. So that's something I feel like I'm way more open to. I probably got at least a dozen self-pub series that are kind of in my plans right now. And so it's very cool.
I don't think it was ignorant because I do think the landscape of self-publishing has changed a whole lot, like in the last decade. Like I do think there was an element of like self-published was really for not the good books back in the day. But I think as I think as the internet has changed things and Amazon has changed things and traditional publishing has changed, I think that's what's really brought about the boom in self-publishing of quality work, that it's not always kind of like the loser stuff.
Right on. See, I've read Philip's book. I've read 4 of Ryan's books so far. So yeah, it's some of the best stuff. It's been making my top 10 for the year, So it's really exciting. It's really
I gotta
exciting for
get
me.
it done. I have it done. I haven't read it yet. I'm excited
Which
to get to
one?
it though.
Oh, either of those. Yeah. You have any like a self pub that you've liked or is on your list to do that you could
Well,
besides
I do have
besides
Egon.
which one?
Like that is, I'm gonna read that soon. Philip's book.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read it soon. He sent it to me. It was so nice, and I haven't read it yet. I mean, I love Sword of Kaigen. That's like, I love
another
that
Kickstarter I'm waiting for that Kickstarter edition to come in. I'm going to read it for the first time.
Yeah, that is a fab book. The book that won this year, Small Miracles, that was super good. I actually, if you're a horror fan, one of the runner-ups for SPFBO, which was my personal favorite of the competition, was A Song for the Void. And that is like a horror, a fantasy horror that I really enjoyed.
Who's the author?
I know the author because I just wrote about it, but it is escaping my mind. I have it up on my shelf somewhere. I'm going to go leave and read it because it's right here. A Song for the Void. It's Andrew Piazza. I knew that. Andrew Piazza.
First I've heard of that one. Lots of people want to know.
Yeah, he came in third place, but it was as a judge, it was my favorite of the year. I really, really liked it.
Did you review Sword of Kaigen?
Did I review Sword of Kaigen? On Instagram, I did. I don't think I did a dedicated review for it on my channel, but it is in my top 10 standalone. I talked about it in my top 10 standalone fantasy books video.
You find that just regular old, and people hate it when I talk about this, but I'm going to do this when I talk to other creators. Just regular old standard book reviews just don't seem to draw much interest anymore. People tired of them.
Yeah, I don't think they do. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say because like some channels do great with them. I just am personally not super interested in reviews because I think the reviews that do the best are non-spoiler reviews. And I just suck at a non-spoiler review. I just hate doing them. I just feel like I have nothing to say. Like if I want to review a book, I kind of want to spoil it. And at that point, it loses its purpose a lot of the time because that means it has to be people who've already read the book.
Sure. Yeah, that's the fine line. It's like people tell me, "Oh, well, I don't want to watch it if if it has spoilers, haven't read it yet." And I'm trying to decide if I want to read it, and then I'm like, "Okay, well, I made a spoiler-free one." Like, "Oh, yeah, well, I haven't read it, so." So it's like, okay, so there's just like no winning on that one. But I'm like, look, I've got the word book reviews in my title, so I'm still going to always do that. But yeah, I mean, most people, you make a top 10, they're going to watch that 100 times out of 100 than watching a review of Cormac McCarthy's The Road. You know, I mean, that's just the way that it's going to happen.
Don't get me started on top 10 videos because it annoys me how well they do. Because I don't know. I'm just like, aren't we tired of a list video yet? Like
I try to do like maybe 3 or 4 a year tops.
I try to do them too because you feel like you have to. Like you have to do a few list videos. And like I'll jokingly, like I sometimes just put numbers in my titles just apparently to make YouTube or people happy. Like this isn't a list video, but here's a number for you. I talk about 4 books.
Here's the thing: is I will make spoiler-free reviews, and either I'll get accused of spoiling it somehow. Oh, because I said, hey, I said a character's name. That means you're spoiling it apparently. Or I'll say, oh, well, your review isn't telling me anything. I don't believe you actually read it. So like, look, I got way too many fun things to do than to pretend that I'm reading a book. So yeah, I'll just go play more Tears of the Kingdom than make a video about a book I didn't read. So
well, and that's the thing is like people go so overboard about what constitutes a spoiler. Like, someone told me I just spoiled something the other day, and I was like, what I said is literally on the back of the book.
Yeah,
like it is literally on the back
cover. Like, I don't feel bad about telling you that. I like doing my spoiler talk in a discussion. I like doing those in a discussion because you feel like you can talk about more. So I've done that with all the Red Rising books. Just did it with like Lonesome Dove. We're doing it with the Robin Hobb books and stuff. It's a lot more fun. I really like. I mean, the videos that I'm really liking doing is just talking to other creators and stuff is a lot more fun for me. I think that's because I did come up in a podcasting background where you always did have someone to kind of bounce things off of. I mean, I like talking and people talk back sometimes. It's much more fun, I think. But I don't know.
Yeah, and I think like the relationships you make with other creators are some of the most rewarding part of the process. Like there's just a lot of, we're all book nerds and talking to people, it's really, really fun.
I mean, I've waited this long to find my people because before I started doing this, I was like, no one reads anything that I read. No one. I mean, if they read at all, it's like James Patterson or Clive Cussler or Nora Roberts. I'm like, anybody reading the stuff that I read, they think that's, oh, you're going to read your little fairy books. That's what they feel about fantasy. So I mean, like when Game of Thrones first came out, and I was trying to get everybody I knew to watch it. Oh no, I'm not into fantasy. I'm like, you said the same thing about Lord of the Rings. You end up liking it. Oh yeah, well that's different. Then how is it different? But I think people have those preconceived notions about it. So when I found my people, as I say here, I've had so much fun getting to know so many other creators and stuff. It's been a lot of fun for me.
I think Game of Thrones though was a big, like the show was a big crossover because I remember feeling like I had friends at the time who were watching Game of Thrones, and I was like, you're watching Game of Thrones? You wouldn't touch a fantasy book with a 10-foot pole. And so it was for me to use leverage. Like, hey, you like that show? Why don't you read the book? Like, read some books. Like, it's the same thing. If fantasy, it's good, No,
there were people that were like so obsessed with like theorizing about Game of Thrones or show. And I'm like, you can find that out. Just pick the book up
right now.
Like when it part 1 came out, people are like, oh, I gotta know. I'm like, well, it's like 1,200 pages, but the answers are there if you want to go do it. I mean, I get that not everyone is a reader, I guess, but yeah, it's hard when you are a reader when people are like, oh God, I gotta know now. I'm like, well, you can.
It's hard to understand when you're a reader why people aren't readers. I'm always just like, there's got to be something you like to read. Something doesn't have to be like high lit, just anything.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Is like people get real like snobby. Oh, I can't believe you're reading. Man, I don't care if you're reading Twilight. As long as you're reading, man, I'm in support of it. I'm all for it. I mean, do you think I'm interested in Sarah J. Maas? No, but I think it's great that there's so many people reading. So
Mike, should we read a Sarah J. Maas book? I'm also 10,000 times uninterested in it. But
well, here's the thing:
we should do it for science.
They had a Kindle sale about 2 years ago of Throne of Glass. And I thought, my wife likes smut books. My wife likes fantasy. Maybe she'll like smut fantasy. At least that's what I think it is. And so I bought those for her, and she was like, yeah, that sounds terrible. So she never has. So I have 6 Throne of Glass books on my Kindle that I got for her. People are like, oh yeah.
She wouldn't even try it. I bet she'd like it. If she likes smut, supposedly that's what that is.
I mean, I've told people, I was like, I don't understand why you read those Harlequin romance novels. I don't know why you think you wouldn't like this. And I think she feels like if it's anything that like she's a teacher, she feels like anything that like she's seen maybe some of her students reading, she feels like that's not anything I'm gonna like. I think because she was like the only girl her age that I think of when Twilight was popular that did not read Twilight, you know, because she was like, yeah, that sounds stupid. She's like, I read Anne Rice. I'm not reading glittery vampires. You know? So she can get kind of snobbish on stuff like that. But she also is a big time mood reader. Like she'll switch from nonfiction to whatever. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she'll read 4 or 5 fantasy books in a row. And I've been trying to get her to read Joe Abercrombie for the last decade. And I still haven't been able to do it. But then I'm like, God, what if she doesn't like it? I think I'm going to be a little heartbroken.
It's almost more painful than just not reading it as if someone doesn't like it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like I'm always excited when someone like I talk about Battlestar Galactica all the time, and then when someone actually starts watching, I'm like, oh God, what if they don't like it? I'm gonna be crushed, you know. So it's kind of like
especially those old shows, like where is it like nostalgia or because it was a different? Like, are you still gonna like it? Because like I wasn't a Battlestar person, but I was a huge Next Gen fan, Star Trek.
Like yes,
and I'm like, really, I'm like, oh, I gotta show our kids that, and I'm like, are they bored? Like, is that not a good show anymore? Like, I don't know. It's been a bit.
Yeah, my kid watched. He watched the original Crew movies of what Wrath of Khan and The Voyage Home and all that. And he liked those, but I was like, he would be bored to tears during Next Generation because I mean, they grew up with Guardians of the Galaxy and Star Wars. They want pew pew pew. You know, they don't want diplomatic resolution. They're not really interested in that.
Yes. How old's your son, if you don't mind me asking?
11 and 8, and the 8-year-old has zero interest in Star Trek. 11-year-old, he's getting there. He's the thing where it's like, kind of really just like almost made me cry one day. He was like, Dad, can we watch Dune? I want to know why it's so special to you. And that just like touched me, you know, like, wow, okay. So I think it's like, if he knows I love something, he has an interest in it because he wants to know why I love it. And he'll be honest with me and tell me, yeah, that's not for me. You know, but he's been watching the Mission Impossible movies the last few nights, and he's like, the plots make no sense, but the action's amazing. So he's into that. So there's some things like that with the nostalgia. Like my wife loves that movie, The Wizard. Do you remember that Fred Savage movie, The Wizard?
I don't even think I've ever seen it.
It's awful. It's terrible. And I tried telling her, that is such a nostalgia thing for you. You go and watch it now and it's awful. And she's like, nope, still love it. Dude, the kids were laughing at how bad that movie was. And she's like all upset about it. And I'm like, you did the same thing for me with the Goonies. I grew up with the Goonies. She had never seen the Goonies. So I showed her the Goonies when we got married. And she was like, it's fine. I was like, yeah, I guess you kind of had to grow up with it, you know? So yeah, there's some of that. There's definitely some of that. So you gotta be careful.
I mean, I think an underrated part of having kids is being able to share the stuff you love with them, like especially like the reading and the shows. Like my oldest is 8. So and man, some of the most fun times, he loves to read and he loves fantasy. And it is just so fun sharing like my favorites with him. It's so fun.
Oh yeah. I mean, like he loves Lord of the Rings, and I think that's just great. We read The Hobbit together. He isn't ready for the big boy books yet, but he loves the movies and stuff. And that's awesome. I mean, that's great for me. It's always fun when they do love something you love. But I'm also the bad parent that lets them watch R-rated movies. With us, it's like violence and stuff. It's like, it ain't nothing worse than he plays on his video games. With us, it's just like the sex stuff though. That I don't want to make him uncomfortable. I don't want to make us uncomfortable. So basically, that's kind of the only thing we kind of say. Like, okay, that's off the table. But where I kind of was like, oh, maybe I messed up was when he said he was on the playground last year in school, 5th grade. And a bunch of kids were talking about their favorite movie. And he said, every one of them, Dad, every one of them named either a Pixar movie or a Marvel movie. I was like, well, what'd you say? He's like, I said, actually, the best movie of all time is Terminator 2. And they all looked at me like I was crazy. They had no idea what that was. I was like, well, you know what? That's a damn good pick, son. So
good for you.
Maybe I messed up a little bit. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I'm like definitely the opposite, where like I don't let my kids watch anything with like violence or I don't want you to get demonetized. But yes, spicy stuff, I guess I'll say. I don't let them watch any of it, but I think it's because how I grew up too. So I'm just like, no, you can't watch any of it. But I'll let them read whatever.
I remember when they were young, when like my firstborn, my wife was like, "Oh, she's not going to let him watch Jurassic Park till he's like 13." I'm like, "Calm down." And I was like,
"This is all see dad/mom energy right here," because Zach has been like, let's show our son who's 8 Jurassic Park. And I'm like, excuse you, no, he can watch that when he's like 12 or 13. And he's like, it's dinosaurs. He can watch it now.
I think it's because I had a brother that was 6 years older than me. So I was watching stuff. Like I watched Exorcist when I was 6. So I think I was just like desensitized really early to I think it's every kid's going to be different, obviously.
Yeah.
But
I think my son actually could handle it. He is not someone who gets scared. Whereas like my daughter, who's a lot younger still, but she's like scared by Bluey episodes sometimes. So I don't even know if you know what Bluey is, but so it's like, there is, every child, you have to cater to it.
Yeah. See, I saw Conan when I was very young because here's my dad. My dad was like, you can't watch any R-rated movies unless they have Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I'm like, so you like all of them? Okay, great. That was my dad's rule, So that's kind of where I'm at. It's just like, we were playing Gears of War together, where you can take a chainsaw and cut someone in half. I'm not going to tell him he can't watch Terminator 2 because there's violence in it, So that's
yeah. My son has only really played, like I've only let him play like Mario games and stuff like that, but he is playing Tears of the Kingdom with me, which isn't like a violent game either. But he's so obsessed with Tears of the Kingdom. And so I'm like, okay, maybe you do need some more hard games. He's like, this is so much more fun than just like Mario Kart. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's both special and really weird to me that I was about his age when I first got into Zelda games, and now I'm playing every Zelda game with him. Like, he loves it so much. He's going back and playing all the old ones now. We're doing that together. It's a lot of fun, but we end up just being like, all right, that's done. Let's go back to Tears of the Kingdom now.
What I found, this is interesting. I wonder if you found this though, because I still have like our N64 and our GameCube and our Wii, and I can hook them up and stuff. And it's hard for my kids to go back and play like our N64 because they are so used to like good graphics and camera angles that they can't really deal with like whatever's going on with the N64. Like, it's too hard.
I found that the original Nintendo and Super Nintendo, like the 8 and the 16-bit era, they can do that because it looks like they're tablet games. But like N64 is unplayable to them. They're like, this looks atrocious. And I'm like, yeah, it hasn't aged the best. What is it like? It keeps slowing down, like with a slow frame rate and stuff. Like,
you don't know anything. The N64 has aged fabulously. I go back and play those games, and I'm like, yeah, these were the games. And you know what? GameCube might have been a weird system. It might have looked weird, but man, did they have some of the best Nintendo games, and I keep my
GameCube just to play Metroid Prime. So yeah, I'm with you.
It's with you there. Well, I finally got rid of my GameCube because I have a Wii. Our old, I have the first generation Wii, and it'll play GameCube games. So that was nice. So now I can only just keep the N64 and the GameCube.
I wish they make all these things backwards compatible. Would be so much. Just because it's hard to hook all this shit up to one TV.
Where can I go pay Nintendo? I will pay them as much money as I am physically possible if they would just take all the most popular N64 and GameCube games and put them on my Switch. I will pay whatever monthly fee you want me to. Like, please just give me Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, some Paper Mario. Just please.
Have you checked out Nintendo Online?
Hooking it up.
Have you checked out Nintendo Online?
Yeah, I have, but they have none of the games that well, that's not true. I've played some of the games on Nintendo Online. Like, I got to play Link to the Past and stuff like that. Yeah, but they don't have any of my favorite N64 games on it yet. Like, at least they haven't ported Paper Mario yet. That's the one I'm really...
Well, they got Ocarina of Time on there. So
they do? They have Ocarina now?
If you buy the Nintendo Online expansion, so you get Game Boy games and N64 games, and they just put in Ocarina of Time on there. So I was
going to say, because I had it like last year. I paid for it for like a year, and I was playing around on it, but they definitely did not have Ocarina last year.
Yeah, they're adding N64 games a little slower, but now they got Genesis games too. So I was like, okay, this is great.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, I'll maybe go back and I'm not going to go look right now because I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. But when that's done, I'll go back and look and see what I want to play.
So, you guys watching anything special right now?
No. I actually don't watch a ton of TV. We did just finish Ted Lasso. Were you a Ted Lasso fan at all?
I haven't, but everything I've watched on Apple TV has been great. So I'm sure I'll end up watching it and liking it.
Really loved Ted Lasso. That's like it. I'm going to be honest. I feel like I watched so much bad TV over the last year between Wheel of Time and Rings of Power and Obi-Wan that I was just like, what am I doing sitting down and watching TV anymore, which is stupid. I know there's a ton of good shows, but I just
I think
haven't watched
Netflix
them.
and Disney Plus have ruined me so much now that I'm like, if it's not on HBO or Apple TV, I don't want to watch it. And I take that back because I just watched this show called From, which was excellent. That's on something called MGM Plus that I didn't even know existed. I had a free trial, and then now I'm watching 1883, which is a spinoff of Yellowstone. That's on Paramount Plus. We're paying for cable again. You guys realize this? All these different streaming services, we're paying for cable again. They got us.
We actually don't have that many streaming services. Oh, someone said The Last of Us. I did watch The Last of Us. I thought that was good.
If you're really close to the game, I don't know how much you really, I don't know. I feel like it's different with some people. My wife hasn't played the game, and she tapped out around episode 5, where I was just like, man.
So I actually haven't played The Last of Us. My husband played it, so I am a little bit of a wimp. I can't play zombie games. It scares me a little too much if things are like jumping out at me. So I didn't play The Last of Us because I'm weak. Like, I mean, I can play some of those games, but like a game that's specifically supposed to scare you, like I am a little bit of a baby. But I did like the show.
I think back to, gosh, this was like, I mean, we're talking a long time. This is like on the original PlayStation. I was playing Silent Hill for the first time.
My God.
In the dark, by myself, completely quiet, and I got actually scared. That was probably like the last time I was like, all right, now I only play games like that when it's bright outside and there's other people in the house, because
I like
when I read The
watch
Shining.
Other people play scary games, and I have done that. Like I love watching people play it, but it's like I can't be in control. It's like too much anxiety. I wish I could remember the game. I watched my brother-in-law play this game where like the only light you were like in an insane asylum and you only had like your camera light and you had to watch everything through a camera. It's just the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. There is just no way I could have played it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was, I wasn't above it. I thought that, hey, ain't nothing going to scare me. It's a video game. Not worry about it. I was playing BioShock not that long ago with headphones on. I actually got creeped out enough that I stopped playing it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that they're scarier than I feel like the movies or horror books are at this point. So,
it's like I can read. I don't know if I've ever really read something that scared me to the point where I was like scared to be alone. Like I don't read a ton of horror, but like I don't have a very vivid like movie screen running in my head. So I feel like reading feels different. Like when you're playing the game, it feels too real. Like, especially if you got the headphones on and the music, it's manipulative.
Yeah, I'm glad I'm the only one who doesn't get scared at video games. Like movies don't scare me, books don't scare me. I was like, video games can get me. They really can, especially if, it's the right.
Because you're in control. That's what I'm saying. It's like the control.
And that's when it's like, okay, now I don't like that the games feel so damn real. Okay.
Yes. Because I mean, that's the other thing. We grew up on games that didn't feel real. Like my dad and I played all of the Tomb Raiders growing up.
Oh yeah.
And awesome. Even playing the new Tomb Raiders, I'm like, wow, this is like so much more violent because it looks nice. Like before, when I was killing someone or a tiger, it was like 2 squares stuck together.
Right.
A little different.
So something that I feel like I've got to talk to you about before we finish tonight is there are some topics I feel like you've been able to touch on and you're still here. And I feel like if I touch on these topics, my channel will probably be demonetized or deleted, and like basically I'd be chased off the internet and evicted to Mars. And I'm talking about 3 particular things that you've talked about in your channel. I'm like, I do not do this. You talked about gender swaps. You talked about strong female character and authors that are shitty in real life. I want to know, how did the feedback for those go for you?
So the feedback actually was pretty good for the most part. Mostly because I think I am not a super reactive person. I usually try to at least represent both sides. And that's something that's really important to me because I think there's a lot of reactiveness on the internet where people want to, I mean, someone just already said it. We talked about no middle ground, like this idea that everything has to be all bad or all good. And it's like, that's just not reality. And so I just don't shy away from it. And I do get a lot of mean comments, and it is what it is. Like, I feel like it's a problem if the only people talking about these controversial topics are people who are yelling on Twitter. Like that's the thing. Like, if we don't have like decent conversations about this, we're letting like the loud minority win. And it's important to me, especially like as a female who cares about good female characters, to also open the conversation of like, just because it's a female character doesn't mean it's good. Just because Galadriel is a warrior in Rings of Power doesn't mean she's written well, because she's not. Mm-hmm. And I think that's like an important conversation, and one that maybe I can have a little easier than someone else, because I am like a pretty vocal feminist and like a female. And I want to be like, look, Captain Marvel wasn't a good movie. And it's not because it was a female lead. It's because it wasn't a great movie. Like, we have to talk about it. It's not just like the really terrible parts of the internet who aren't liking these movies.
Yeah, you know, apparently I didn't like the Star Wars sequels because I'm scared of strong women.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. You're correct. It wasn't because the story made no sense or because it was a copy of A New Hope. It was because you hate women. Yeah, I mean, like, I had someone, it was actually a Reddit thing. I saw someone say, like, someone had responded with my video on Rings of Power, basically saying, hey, it's not only like incels who don't like Rings of Power. Like, here's this video talking about like some of the problems. And the person responded, well, I didn't watch the video, but she probably just has internalized misogyny. And it's like, that is so frustrating. And it's like, I'm mad at both sides, because there are men who just hate that Galadriel is the main character. And there are, like, that's true. But I don't actually think it's as big of a portion as we think it is. I think they're just kind of loud. And I hate that creators can just be like, oh, you're sexist if you didn't like Rings of Power. And it's like, no, there were problems with your show. I have no problem with Galadriel being a warrior. I do have a problem that her character makes zero sense from episode to episode. And you've never supported why she could act this way. Like, that's lazy. And I would complain about that in a male character. So
yeah, I think recently I guess it was about a year ago now, when Obi-Wan was on, and I was like, Reva is one of the worst written characters I've seen on TV, and you know how that went. So I was like, whoa, okay, I can't actually give my opinions on any female characters.
Well, what's hard there is like, there were racist fans. Like, look, Star Wars has a bad history of having really loud racist fans. The problem is when the creators are like, well, if you didn't like Reba, you're racist. Her character made zero sense. Like, I could write a dissertation on why Reba's character does not make sense. And it has nothing to do with the actress. She's fine. I have no feelings for the actress. I have feelings for how the script was written. And so it's this whole thing now where, like, because of how fast the internet moves, that you can take a single tweet and make it seem like everyone's tweeting that.
Yeah.
And it's exhausting. Like, as a fan, it's exhausting to be like, look, we just want good TV. Like, please, like, stop pretending the TV you're giving us is good. It's not.
I do say that it feels like not that long ago, if someone made a bad movie, they would say, hey, we took a risk and we were wrong. It's not what fans wanted. And you know what? We messed up. Now it's always the fans' fault. It's always the internet's fault. It's always incels' fault. You know, it's just like, Dial of Destiny was never going to be a success. I mean, people were sick of watching Lucasfilm take their childhood heroes and make them broken old men. I think it was just, I mean, it's the same as the same.
Are we talking about Luke Skywalker? Are we talking about the travesty of what they did to Luke Skywalker? Because
here's the thing is, my kid, I want to make sure I did not influence him in any way. I want him to be able to make his own decisions on this stuff. I don't want him ever feeling like he's got to just think what I think. I don't want him to be my echo chamber. So I didn't say anything about The Last Jedi before he watched it. And we were halfway through the movie and he was like so mad. I'm like, I paused. I'm like, what's wrong? He's like, this doesn't feel like Luke Skywalker. I don't like this. So I was like, see, this is a 6-year-old kid saying this, man. Yeah. Travesty is
and I think it's the trend, like, Luke can't be a hero because it's more interesting to not be a hero. And it's like, that's not true. Sometimes we just leave it alone. Luke was a hero and that's all I need. And like, that's also why I kind of don't like them bringing back characters. Like, another reason I like Andor so much is that it has so few characters from the original trilogies. Really, like, the only character would be Mon Mothma. But because Mon Mothma doesn't have like a huge role, I feel like it didn't feel like No, everyone, like, people like happy endings, and the end of the original trilogy is happy. So stop. I don't want to see that Leia and Han divorced. I don't care. I just let me be happy. Like, that's all. I want Luke to play it off, and I can read the books, and I have read some of them. Just let me be happy.
And that's the thing. Just people like me. I've got about 70 Star Wars EU novels over there that I've read and loved. And so it's like, I was accepting. I was like, when they said they were canceling, it wasn't going to be canon anymore. I was like, okay, I understand they don't want to be tied to it. But I also had that opinion of, you'd better do something better. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't.
Yeah,
like
I think it would have been smarter if they had just taken elements from the novels that used to be canon, I guess. Because I understand them not wanting to do like direct adaptations. Like, that makes sense to me. But like, there's just so much interesting stuff in there that you could have repurposed. And it just it wasn't there.
Anyways, I think it's really brave that you tackle these topics, because I feel like if I did it by the end of the day, my channel would be missing.
Well, here's the thing, Mike. Your channel's also doing a lot better than mine. So maybe you should ask yourself, is it really doing a lot for me? Although I just enjoy it. I'll admit it. I enjoy tackling the big topics, so I'm going to keep doing it.
Well, how do you feel about channel growth? I mean, is this something you want to do full time? Is it something you do as a hobby? I mean, how do you really look at this? Is this just something that's just, if this is the biggest your audience gets, you're happy with that? Or
I mean, yes and no. It is just a hobby for me. Like, I am not interested in YouTube being like a money-making prospect for me. Like, I really just do not care about making money through it. It's why I don't have a Patreon. I don't have a Discord. I don't put mid-roll ads. Like, it is just not my priority. But I am like a very driven and perfectionist person. So growth does matter to me just on the principle, like just the principle of the thing. So like, yeah, I hope to keep growing. Like, I do, I hope, but I won't sell my soul for it. It has to be authentically from what I want to do.
No, I get people all the time being like, "Oh, you ever want to do this full time?" Like, no, this isn't what I went to college to do. I mean, I like doing this, and I don't want to treat it like a job. I mean, here's the thing: is I do treat everything like a business. It's just, you're a business major. You're just going to be like, hey, I do treat everything like running a business, but I still want it to be fun. I don't want it to feel like a job. So yeah, no, I would never do that. Also, I feel like that you got to kind of be untruthful, because you got to go with a lot of the videos that get the traffic and stuff that you probably wouldn't maybe go to other times. I'd have to get videos being like, this is why such and such is a Mary Sue. I'd have to make videos like that now. So I don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. Well, I think first of all, screw them, screw the Rothfuss sub. You should make your video about Quoth being a Mary Sue. I'll watch it enough times to give you enough views. And second, yeah, that is why I would just hate it being my job, because I would never want a job that the income stream is so dependent on like getting a sponsor. Like, I've never had a sponsor, because unless I actually believe in what you want me to, like, I have a list of things. If they want to reach out to me, I believe in your product. So I would let you pay me to talk about it. But I can't get up here and be like, use this thing I've never used. I just can't. And that's what you would need to do to make money off of YouTube.
I had this company send me this chair right here. And they asked if, if they sent it to me, would I talk about it in my book haul video? And I did. And they liked it so much, they asked if I would isolate it for them to use for their advertising. Sure. So I uploaded like a 90-second video on the channel, and people got outrageously upset about it. And I was like, tell me another channel the size of mine that has not taken a sponsor yet. I bet you can't find one, because I don't want to shill someone's product. That wasn't what I was doing. Will I take this nice $500 chair? Yeah, you better believe I will. But as far as me being like, oh, I'm going to just be like slinging people's product, I'm not sitting here talking about a VPN and all that stuff like every other damn channel seems to be doing. So I don't. And you know what?
I don't care. Honestly, like, when I see channels doing that, like, I don't think it's authentic, but like, I don't care, because these are channels I love, and I want them to make money because I love your channel. I want you to keep doing it. So please take those sponsors. It's just because I am not doing it as a job, I just find no motivation to do that. But yeah, I think people are hard on creators. I don't think they really realize like how little you actually make from actual YouTube. Like, the only way to make this a job would be to have sponsors and a Patreon. And to how much work it is.
Yeah. It's like, guys, you really have no idea how little you have to be a humongous channel. I mean,
Yes.
less than 15% of my audience watches my videos, you know, because that's why I say I think a lot of them are bots, probably. Let's be honest. I mean, they probably are, or accounts
No.
people don't really use anymore and stuff. That's going to happen. But I think some of those bigger channels they got 500,000 subscribers, and you look at they could put out a video of them petting their cat and they get 140,000 views. Like only my biggest
Well,
videos ever have gotten 140,000 views, you know, so
I
those
think
people can do that.
book YouTube is also different. Like I follow some YouTubers that are really big outside of the sphere. And one thing I find interesting is out like in gaming or like lifestyle or things like that, usually the videos have way more views than the person has subscribers. And in booktube, even the biggest fantasy like booktubers, their views are always much lower than their subscribers. And I think
Yeah.
the problem is because book reading asks a lot of your subscriber base. It isn't like these videos that don't require anything of you, right? Like that you have to have read the book to interact. So like we just have such a different battle, I feel like, because like not all of our videos cannot always be relevant to our subscriber base. Does that make sense?
Yeah, when I talked to Murphy about this, she said like people accuse her of like doing like making videos for clicks. Where she's like, "Don't you think I would have picked something besides talking about books if I was just here for clicks and money?" Yes.
Okay, I have defended a couple of the big booktubers that people are like they don't even like fantasy. I'm like, dude, if they didn't like fantasy, they could have picked literally anything else and been more successful.
Yeah, once
on
they
YouTube.
got bigger, they could have switched to something else. Definitely, you know, once they got yeah, for sure.
So I'm like,
I've actually gotten Clayton. I've actually gotten that offer for what is it, Shadow of Legends or whatever. I've gotten that. I've actually gotten that one, and I told them no, thank you.
You should have just taken it, Mike. Just take the money and run.
I said the only way I would take a sponsor is if it was one I didn't have to like talk about it for 90 seconds. I was like, I have a hard enough time keeping people watching my videos. I'm not going to chase them off. And if it was something book related, like if Audible wants me to talk about yeah, sure, I'll do that. Something that's relevant to my audience, maybe coffee, you know, maybe. But yeah, no, your water bottle, no, I'm not going to sling your water bottle every single video for 90 seconds. No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always like, look, if Target wants to sponsor me, great. I go to Target like once a week. Trader Joe's, great. Yeah, I don't think you want my book people, but I talk about you. Purple Mattress, I'll talk about you all the time. Who wants to hit me up for those things? But otherwise, you know.
But I want other creators to realize I'm not saying it's bad if you do it. I mean, do what works for you, man. I want get that money. Go for it. I'm all for it.
That's how I feel. Like
I'm just saying
because ultimately, like I guess my point was being like now I know how much content creation takes out of me. Like it's so much work. There's so much effort. So I do not judge at all. Like I want my creators to be paid for their work. And I am happy when they get paid for their work. And I'm a Patreon for people who I don't get anything for being like a Patreon. Like I just literally pay for their free content because I believe in their content. So I have no problem with any of that. It's just personally not something like I am motivated by or interested in.
Yeah, I think I had 10,000 subscribers before I made a Patreon. So I was probably a little bit behind now. I see people with like 500 subscribers got one. Hey, before I go, I've got to ask. Yeah, they have a Patreon.
Oh, now. I don't have a Patreon. Seems like a lot of work.
Yes and no. I got a question before I let you go here. How do I get my lighting as good as yours? Because I feel like my greatest struggle, like being a podcaster, I had no problems with the audio. I had the audio on lock from go. Seems like every time I get my lighting just right, something happens and it changes. And everyone's just like, oh, just get a ring light. No, that isn't it. I get a ring light and I just look, my face just looks like cottage cheese. It doesn't look as nice as Bookborn's here. So what's your secret?
So I did have a ring light and so this is happening right now though. I hated the ring light made me look really shiny and I am looking shiny right now, which usually I feel like with my new lighting didn't. But I got a new lighting called LumaCube. So you could try it out. I like them. They're LED panels, so they're flat. So they look like one of those box lights, but they're really thin because I don't have a lot of space. I like them. I still look shiny though.
I'm just in the spare bedroom, which I turn into an office, and my desk takes up about a third of the room here. So I can't really put the umbrella lights on both sides of me. I kind of have to have them like at an angle, so it doesn't always work. So when I'm sitting here, it works.
I will text you what they look like. They might work for you.
Duh.
I don't know if this is a compliment or an insult, but thank you, Sam. I'll send you a picture of the behind the scenes because we didn't have a ton of space either. But here's the thing. I don't think I'll ever be satisfied with my lighting or my sound or what isn't that just a content creator thing? It's just never good enough.
And the thing is like when you finally feel like you get it great, your like camera like resets randomly or something, you forget what all the settings were. At least that's happened to me before. So
yeah, no, that's happened to me. Or you film a whole video out of focus.
I remember exactly what I was doing the Nevernight trilogy by Jay Kristoff, and I was just like so bummed out because it wasn't until after I uploaded that I realized about a third of it was out of focus. Because apparently on the front of my camera, you can turn off autofocus. Why do you have that button on the outside of your camera? You know, so I touched it and didn't even know. So yeah.
Yep.
Content creator problems. It happens all the time.
All the time.
All the time. So yeah, I guess what we're saying is we'll never be happy. So before we go, what's your most anticipated book that isn't out yet? You got one? Is there anything you're waiting for?
Oh no, I'm so bad at this. My most anticipated book that's not out yet. I guess Secret Project 4. I guess I'm excited about just all the secret projects. I'll go basic. Secret Project 4.
Lightbringer, which I already read. That's Red Rising. It's a really awesome series. You should read it.
Yeah. I actually hate that it's named Lightbringer because everyone keeps talking about it. And I'm like, why is everyone talking about Lightbringer again? Like, isn't that over? And then like every time I'm like, oh, Red Rising. Okay.
When I was interviewing Pierce Brown, someone in the comments kept being like, hey, why did he name this after a really awful fantasy series? I didn't say it. I never actually asked him that, but yeah.
But I would like to ask Pierce Brown, like, it's a decently well-known series. So it does just, and like, it's recent enough. Like if this was 10 years down the line when Lightbringer's probably forgotten, it'd be one thing, but it is just like, I am curious. I have questions.
I've read it. So I think you'll get your answer in that book, but yeah, I still also think
there's read 5 books to get there.
A million other things that he could have named it. I can agree, but hey, you know what? Red God's an awesome name for the next book. So I'm okay with that, but I've kept you for 2 hours here, and I know you're like me. You probably are itching to go play Tears of the Kingdom after we keep talking about it so much. So I think we should probably.
I actually will be doing that. Yeah, I will. I'm going to get off here and go play Tears of the Kingdom.
Tomorrow is my Friday off. I get every other Friday off, so no bedtime for me tonight. It's very exciting.
You also will be playing. But I know it's been too long. I just have a question though. Like, where are you in Tears of the Kingdom? I'm just curious. What are you doing right now?
We've done all the temples. We just need to go to the end now, but we're just like, even though I know you can keep playing after you beat the game, we still just like, oh well, I don't want to do that. So we've gotten all the memories, we've gotten every single thing except go to the last fight. You know,
you're speaking my language. I will not go to a boss fight until everything is completely done. So I'm finding all 152 shrines. Yeah. I will be finding every possible thing. So
we've got the Underdark. That's what we call it. Dungeons and Dragons. We got the Underdark completely done, completely mapped out. We found all the light routes. So now we're just trying to get to the shrines in the sky. That seems to be like we've gotten maybe a dozen.
I've done most of the sky because I'm scared of the Underdark. So I have not got down there yet because of those stupid hands. If the hands didn't exist, I would have no problem with the Underdark, but I'm so scared.
First time those happened to me on the ground, like on the ground level, it scared the hell out of me. I was like, what do you do? What do you do?
I was literally screaming. I was just like, I don't know what's happening. And then like I died in 30 seconds because they grabbed me and I was like, ah. Anyway, that's fun times.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I'm super, super happy to have you here. I'll tell Zach I'm super excited to read Threadlight when it is in my hand. I can't wait to do it. And then he and I can talk. And tell him thank you for letting me spend 2 hours with you. It was really awesome.
Thank you so much. I had such a good time. Thanks for letting me come on.
I'm glad we finally did do this. And guys, if you don't know, she'll tell you now where you can find her.
You can find me at Bookborn on YouTube. There it is. And bookborn.reviews on Instagram.
And I've got a link to her channel down below, guys. Yeah, usually people reel off their Twitter and all this stuff. And she's like, no, she's keeping it real.
That's it. I got 2 things. I don't even have a Goodreads. Like, there it is. You can find me in 2 easy places.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, guys. And we will talk at you soon.